judgment, and if the outcome is unfavorable, it's going to leave a lot of us skeptical about the role of our judiciary in ensuring that all of us are equal before the law. But we'll explore any other legal avenues that they might exist, but we know that the Constitutional Court is the highest arbiter of all affairs in society, so we're going to have to pursue accountability in other mechanisms.
Mr. Tambo, thank you very much. Siso, that was the EFF National Spokesperson, now Tambo, giving us an update on the party's picket outside the Constitutional Hill in Braamfontein today. For Eyewitness News, I'm Alfa Ramshwana, reporting live from the Constitutional Court in Johannesburg.
Today's witness at the Madlanga Commission will testify in camera in relation to the theft of drugs at the Hawks' offices in Port Shepstone. 542 kilograms of cocaine was stolen from the unit's premises in 2021. Today's testimony comes a day after a retired senior Hawks officer told the Commission that some law enforcement officials should be high on a list of suspects in the theft of drugs worth 200 million rand. The Nelson Mandela Bay municipality says it's prepared for any further weather-related emergencies. Heavy rain has caused flooding and some people have been displaced from their homes in many parts of the province. Mongezi Koko has more from the Eastern Cape.
Municipal officials say they are overly prepared for any eventuality, including search and rescue operations and recovery missions should conditions worsen. Mayor Babalwa Lobishe.
In the eventuality when there is a need, they are going to help us in terms of that.
The municipality says lessons have been learnt from previous disasters, with teams now better equipped to respond quickly and assist vulnerable communities. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Gqeberha.
And U.S. President Donald Trump says the ceasefire with Iran was still in place despite the latest exchange of fire between the two countries in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. military says it carried out strikes on Iranian military targets after 3 American destroyers were attacked. Iran's military has accused the U.S. of violating the ceasefire by attacking an oil tanker and another ship. The violence threatens to unravel a fragile truce that brought an end to weeks of U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran, which has hit strikes across the Middle East and blocked the Strait of Hormuz. Trump says negotiations are still in effect despite the latest exchange of fire.
They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big blow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast. Talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain.
Gold is trading at $4,729.10 an ounce. The rand is at 16.43 to the dollar, 22.30 to the pound, 19.29 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $101.35 a barrel.
In the traffic in Boysons, expect slight delays on the M1 North due to an accident just before the Crown interchange. And in Germiston, there's still some traffic pressure on the N3 North as you approach the Geldenhuys interchange.
A cloudy and windy Friday in store for Gauteng with showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 17.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy that connects us all.
That's what makes this one so special.
In 702, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Minutes after 9 o'clock, Dumelang, happy Friday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for joining us here on 702. We always love being in your company. I hope you're well this morning and I hope you're wrapping up your week on a good note. It's a Friday, and you know what we do every Friday? We do Gratitude Friday on the 702 open line. This is where you can give us a call on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702 and share with us what you are grateful for this week. What happened this week that you are grateful for, that put a smile on your face? Please share that with us so we can celebrate with you. It's the Phala Phala Judgment Day. How are you feeling? It's a big day for Parliament. It's a big day for the President. A big day for the EFF and the ATM. And quite frankly, a big day for South Africa. The Constitutional Court will rule this morning whether Parliament failed to exercise its constitutional obligation to hold the executive accountable when it rejected a report recommending an impeachment inquiry into the President. Remember the Section 89 independent panel, which was chaired by retired Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo, concluded that there was prima facie evidence that the President may have breached anti-corruption laws. In fact, let me read it for you verbatim, their findings. They found that, and I quote here, "In light of all the information placed before the panel, we conclude that this information discloses prima facie that the President may have committed a serious violation of Sections 96(2)(a) of the Constitution, a serious violation of Section 34(1) of PRECA, a serious misconduct in that the President violated Section 96 by acting in a way that's inconsistent with his office, and a serious misconduct in that the President violated Section 96(2)(b) by exposing himself to a situation involving conflict because his official responsibilities and his private business, right? That's the conflict between the two responsibilities. And just to remind you, Section 87 of the Constitution allows for the removal of a sitting president on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, serious misconduct, or an inability to perform the functions of the office. So what the panel found was, okay, there's prima facie evidence here that the President may have violated anti-corruption laws, but we are not making that final decision. We would need an impeachment inquiry so that more evidence can be had, so that the President can also testify, he can be asked questions, and then that impeachment committee can then decide what the process is. So an impeachment inquiry was supposed to be established, but instead the ANC used its majority in Parliament to vote against the independent report. And for me, at the time, I remember thinking, okay, what was the point of Parliament going out of its way to constitute an independent panel of incredible jurists? I mean, who is that? Advocate Sillo was on the panel of this, was on this independent panel. So they were quite important lawyers who know what they're doing, who are experts in the field, who understand the law, who sat with this retired Chief Justice, and they said, based on the information that was presented before us, we think there's prima facie evidence. What was the point of Parliament going all out like that if it's not going to respect the recommendations of the panel? And of course, I mean, it's the prerogative of Parliament what it does with that report, right, through the democratic process of voting. But at the end of the day, you must still ask the question, if Parliament is going to go and say, we need these judges or these legal experts that we're going to constitute to help us understand what to do with this situation. And yet when the recommendation comes, because the majority party in Parliament doesn't like what that panel has found, and then they shoot it down, is that a rational decision? That's what the Constitutional Court will have to answer. When Parliament decided it's not going to constitute an impeachment inquiry, it's setting aside this report, was that a rational decision? And that's going to be an important question that it answers. I want to know from you, though, what you think is the likely outcome here. Because the court could say Parliament acted within its constitutional powers, and the EFF is just unhappy that the democratic process did not deliver the outcome that it wanted. Or the court could find that the decision is irrational and unconstitutional, and it sets it aside. And then, it's likely that decision to be referred back to Parliament, which then makes it complicated because the ANC will rely on the GNU. Parties like the DA are in the GNU, and I'm sure they're going to feel conflicted. But the DA could argue that this is not an impeachable offense, therefore we're going to vote to protect the president. But I don't see the president sitting through that impeachment inquiry. Not a president who's in his last term and is left with what, 2 to 3 years? What are you expecting from the court today? And do you think we're going to put this matter of Phala Phala behind us? Because this, my friend, is possibly the last opportunity we have at accountability, because nobody else has been held accountable in as far as the Phala Phala matter, in as far as how this Phala Phala matter was handled. What are you expecting from court, and what do you think is likely to be the outcome? 011-883-0702, WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. And still on the Phala Phala judgment, I think, and please let me know what your thoughts are, I think we deserve an explanation on why it's taken this long for this judgment to be delivered. We've waited how many days now? Close to 500 days post the hearing of the matter. Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF, had to write to the Chief Justice Mandi Samaya to raise serious concerns over the unacceptable and prolonged delay in the delivery of the judgment. The wait has just simply been long, and it's not merely beyond the prescribed 3-month period. It is also more than 5 times the maximum standard contemplated by the norms and standards. And no explanation has been provided that could reasonably sustain a claim of exceptional circumstances of this magnitude. So I hope when this judgment gets delivered, we will get some kind of an explanation for the delay. Is this delay consistent with Clause 526 of the norms and standards for the performance of judicial functions? I don't think so, because my understanding is that this delay stands in contradiction to those norms and standards, because they provide that except for exceptional circumstances, judgments should be delivered no later than 3 months after the last hearing. So what are the exceptional circumstances this time around? Because we have waited for over 1 year and 4 months. What do you think? Do you think we are owed an explanation? Let me know. Over 1 year and 4 months waiting for the judgment? We've debated this before. What could be the exceptional circumstances? I thought maybe one, either there are serious backlogs in the Constitutional Court, serious enough to delay a judgment by 1 year and 4 months or so. Or 2, the judgment is going to have some serious consequences, so maybe timing matters. But then again, the Constitutional Court doesn't and shouldn't concern itself with timings of its judgments and consequences thereof. Hence, that Nkandla judgment, remember it? On how Parliament failed to hold Zuma accountable. Hence, the contempt of court judgment against Zuma, which sent him to jail. So what are we dealing with here? I'm not even for a second suggesting anything untoward towards the justices. I'm just trying to understand what's up, because it's just not making sense. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. At 10 o'clock, we're going to take that judgment live in the Constitutional Court. It's expected to begin at 10. I've never seen the justices not being on time. So as soon as it begins, we're going to take you there live. And after that, we're going to bring you some reactions. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Morning, Clement. With the Phala Phala issue, I don't see the Concord ruling against the president, much as we have already seen the public protector, the SARS, and the Reserve Bank clearing the president on this matter. So my feeling is that the Concord will rule in favor of the president. Because if that happens, that they rule against the president, that will have the serious and adverse political implications for the president.
Morning, Clement. I think we must just be honest with ourselves and stop saying parliament. I get your technicality, but we must just call it for what it is. Say the ANC. Yesterday we played. You interviewed people from the ANC, and they always make this excuse that we don't have capacity, that unit, this unit must investigate the thing. And all they're doing is playing for time. Stalingrad. That's what the ANC does. So we must just, call this thing for what it is. ANC closing rank for the members. And, treat all these cases with that discontempt that it deserves. And how we vote going forward, we must take all these things into account. Sharp.
So my concern, to be honest with you, is almost every institution that's investigated this matter, and I'm not talking so much about just the people who stole the money, because that matter has gone through the courts. I'm just talking about how the matter was handled from the side of the president and his security. Yeah? So hear me out. And maybe let me start off with this question. Does it make sense to you that nobody has been held accountable and will likely never be held accountable? Because the public protector has investigated, remember? The president was off the hook. She didn't find anything wrong with what the president did. The only person really that the public protector's report was strictly against, whose conduct it was strictly against, was the head of security, Mr. Wally Roda. But even with that, nothing happened to him because the disciplinary hearing started in the SAPS and he escaped scot-free. I mean, IPID now, a couple of months ago, released their report, which indicates that Wally Roda acted irregularly. Do you think the SAPS is going to hold him accountable? I mean, that was the head of security for the president. He's still very much employed. So, even as bizarre as the Phala Phala story is, nobody linked to how this matter was handled is actually going to be held accountable. They're all off the hook. Remember, public protector investigated. The Reserve Bank governor investigated. Oh, and then the NPA said there is no reasonable prospect of a successful prosecution based on information contained in the Phala Phala docket. So they decided not to prosecute the president or anyone else for that matter in how this issue was handled. I am just surprised that not even a single person is going to be held accountable for how things were handled here, because so much doesn't make sense. And if you don't remember how the Phala Phala scandal transpired, someone arrived in the country with lots of cash. He doesn't declare that cash at the airport. He goes to the farm of the president, buys cattle, but that cattle doesn't get delivered to him years later. Guys, imagine walking into Nike and you're buying Nike shoes. Or you're walking into a furniture store. You're buying beautiful couches or a television set. And years later, you still haven't delivered that. I mean, you still haven't picked up what you paid in full for. How does that make sense? Or years later, they still haven't delivered your couches when you've already paid them in full? How does it make sense that someone arrived at the president's farm, paid cash for cattle owned by the president, but that cattle doesn't get delivered to him years later, and the foreign currency that he used to buy the cattle is stored in couches? And we are told by the Reserve Bank that foreign currency transaction wasn't perfected. Because remember, the issue was the foreign currency transaction didn't get declared and reported to the bank within 30 days as required by the law. And the Reserve Bank came and said, well, we investigated, nothing wrong there. The transaction wasn't perfected, meaning it wasn't completed. So they told us the president and his firm didn't have to declare the foreign currency because the transaction was not perfected, meaning the cattle was not delivered or fetched. Therefore, the transaction was not complete. So it wasn't a sale. How? And when I looked at the receipt that was given to this businessman who bought the buffaloes, it doesn't say anything about a deposit. It says, and I quote here, "This is to certify that I, Silverton Ndlovu, who was the farm manager, received a sum of $580,000 from Mr. Hazim on the 35th of December 2019 at Phala Phala for the payment of 20 buffaloes from Camp 6. And even in the interviews that Hazim did with the media, he never, not once, said he paid a deposit for the buffaloes. He said he made a payment for the buffaloes and all that was left was to fetch them." So where does this idea that this was like some kind of a deposit then come from? This story is very weird. And the fact that all these different institutions that have investigated have let the president off the hook, have let other people even around the president off the hook is really quite suspicious for me. But let's hear what the Constitutional Court says. Maybe they will put this to bed once and for all and tell us whether Parliament was irrational in its decision to vote against an independent panel's report that said, "This prima facie case here against the president, let there be an impeachment inquiry." It's 25 minutes after 9 o'clock.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Good day, Clement. Good day, 702 Lenders. Abraham in Florida. Clement, I just want to congratulate the EFF and its leader, Julius Malema, for actually pressing on this matter and making sure that the president is held to account. Had it not been that, this matter would have been left unattended because SARS saw no reason to question the president, and as well as the public protector saw no reason to actually hold the president to account. And the matter was left to the people. And I think that the president, this matter should be sent back to Parliament and the impeachment process begins, because we can't have someone who's trading with foreign currencies in our country. As the first citizen of this country, he should be of the knowledge that even if he does do business, it should be in the currency of this country, and the money should be declared as so that it is also taxed.
Good morning, Clement and the listeners. Hey, regarding the judgment, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm so curious. I'm so anxious, actually, not curious, and I'd really like to know what exactly are they gonna say? What exactly are they gonna do? But to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't think this case is worth us having our president step down. Maybe it is. Maybe let's hear from other listeners, but I don't think it's that strong that it's worth it. I mean, yes, the Constitution supports it, but I don't know. Choosing a president is not that easy for us to just get rid of one because of a case like this. Not really a small case, but I don't know. Let's just hope they won't take a drastic decision. See ya from Kato.
Clement, it's a big day. It's a big day, especially for the GNU, because if Ramaphosa, if this judgment goes against Ramaphosa, then there is a big trouble, because Ramaphosa might resign, as you said, and then the unthinkable can happen or will happen, that the deputy president become the president of the country, and then he will chuck out the DA and the FF plus and bring MK or the EFF into this. So it's gonna be a big day for the DA. If I was the DA, I would be praying that this goes against EFF. But if they are lucky and it goes
according to the EFF the case goes to EFF, then the DA have to plead with Cyril Ramaphosa to stay on. Even those questions will come and everything. It's going to be a big day for the DA. Thank you, Clement.
Look, I agree with you, and that's why earlier I said the DA is going to feel conflicted here, because what do they do? If the Constitutional Court says the decision by Parliament was irrational and unconstitutional, and send this back to Parliament, referred back to Parliament, and now there's an impeachment inquiry, I mean, first of all, I don't think the president would want to sit through that unless he somehow he's got the energy for it. He wasn't prepared to do it at the time when this independent panel released its findings. That's why he considered to resign. Remember, we had two of his best friends on this show. We had two of the president's best friends. We called them, and they told us, the president, in fact, we must find those clips that we should play after the judgment if it rules against the president. Because those two best friends of the president said, we've been trying to convince him not to leave. He's made up his mind. He wants to resign. What is the DA going to do if the matter goes to Parliament and there must be a vote on impeachment of the president? I asked Helen Zille this question as soon as they signed an agreement with the ANC to start this GNU. And this is how I asked it and how she responded.
Please pose for me these questions to Helen Zille. The first one is, will the DA support the impeachment of President Cyril Ramaphosa on the Phala Phala matter if this issue is resuscitated in Parliament?
Well, we will only support the impeachment if the evidence suggests that there should be an impeachment, but I don't think we are now in a position, given the fact that we have signed a statement of intent, to start impeaching a president we've just voted for. Mm-hmm. That was the agreement we've made. We haven't said in future that we will never, ever do anything, but we will not support a motion of no confidence in the president, because that was part of the agreement.
See? And the ANC was very smart about this. You've got to give it to them, because they knew that they could find themselves in a situation where the matter of Phala Phala goes to court and the court rules against Parliament and the matter is referred back to Parliament. So they were so clever that in the statement of intent, when they were signing that, they got the DA to make a commitment that they are not going to vote for the impeachment of the president. And I wonder how the Democratic Alliance then explains this to its voters. I mean, if the court finds that that decision was irrational, I mean, what is the DA going to do? And as I said, they may argue that, well, we do think the president did something wrong, but this is not an impeachable offense. The president must just come out and apologize and take accountability and say, I could have handled things differently. I should have handled things better. But I think that's going to put the Democratic Alliance in a bind, because had they not been in the GNU, trust me, they would be holding a press briefing as soon as this judgment is done, should it go against the president, and call on him to resign. But now that they are in the belly of the beast, they're part of the government, they have to protect their interests. See? That's what politics is all about. It's about what the politicians want, what is in their interest. It's 9:32. It's Fiso. The big day in the Constitutional Court today on Phala Phala.
That's right, Clement, as the Apex Court prepares to deliver the landmark judgment in Parliament's handling of the Phala Phala burglary scandal. The EFF says it'll accept whatever outcome is handed down. The EFF argues Parliament has failed in its constitutional obligation to hold President Cyril Ramaphosa accountable after it chose not to adopt a Section 89 panel report. The report found that Ramaphosa may have violated his oath of office following the theft of more than $500,000 from his Phala Phala farm 6 years ago. Two former Mondio High School matriculants whose visual arts exam papers have allegedly been lost say they are concerned about their future. In January this year, Aiden Aronsa and Ayush Maharaj were, as a result, informed by the school that the subject would not have a final mark. The pupils say they submitted the work as required, but the department has instructed them to rewrite the exam. And 3 hikers have died and 10 are missing after a volcano erupted in Indonesia. Government authorities say the early morning eruption was accompanied by a booming sound and thick smoke rising around 10 kilometers from the summit of Mount Kutono. Police say 7 people came down safely in an area declared off limits to visitors last month after scientists observed an increase in volcanic activity. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
If you're traveling in Boysens at this hour, traffic remains sluggish on the M1 North as you get closer to the Crown Interchange. Over in the Edenvale, traffic is also slow on the R24. This is as you get closer to Galuli's Interchange. In the Centurion, traffic is also at a crawl on the N14 East. This is between Voortrekker Road and the Brakfontein Interchange. Look out for 40 traffic lines in Rand Park Ridge at the N1 North in Beyers Nodia, in 4 ways at Winnie Mandela and Monte Casino, as well as in Woodmead at Woodmead and Woodlands. Traffic lights are also out in the city of Tshwane, in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein, as well as in Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive. If you come across any other traffic,
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
We're asking the question whether South Africa is xenophobic. Eugene, you've called in from Kempton Park. You from the Congo DRC.
South Africa is not. I've been blessed in South Africa. I work for the logistics company. You need to comply on the law. When you reach other countries, they will make you sign the law at the airports or in the border. Arrest those who are not following the rules of South Africa. And they must be deported. But to say South Africa is xenophobic, really I reject. I don't agree with that.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Once upon a weekend on 9 and 10 May, the magical Marble Family Fest arrived at James and Ethel Gray. There's so much to tell you in such little time. We could never list it all, but we'll give it a try. There's fancy food and music, pottery and painting, bead bars and wine bars and jewelry creating, and because we love collaborating, there's a wheel of wonder from Investec joyfully circulating. Caricature artist, storyteller marvelous, and gourmet popcorn galore, hair bedazzling, double horse carouseling. Oh, do you want more? Of course, there's the most It's another girl!
Whew. Families multiply, fees shouldn't. With Ultimate Banking, you get support for every chapter. Get discounted banking for your spouse and give each of your children a head start with a Mega U account. Because as your family grows, your banking should keep up. Apply online. Your story matters. ABSA. Terms and conditions apply. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider.
Mzansi, get ready to Panda Pusha Play Powerball Plus for an unforgettable 83 million rand guaranteed jackpot this Friday. You heard right. Play Powerball Plus for the huge 83 million rand guaranteed jackpot today, and you could be celebrating millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Hey, we weren't quite done with all we had to say about the Magical Marble Family Fest this 9 and 10 May. With sports zones and ice cream cones piled higher than you think, terrarium creating, hairstyle decorating, maybe glitter and pink. With spaces for tots, adult bars for shots, and characters to meet, matcha sipping, candle dipping, and pantry as a treat. With magicians and musicians, the biggest family event lineup on display, carnival rides, carousel glides. Oh, and there's even a play. So bring your best, come to the Magical Marble Family Fest. Another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947. Whew.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg.
To walk through the city center with us in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this boat.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Josie. Babise bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line, and we are taking your calls on what is expected in the Constitutional Court today. What are you expecting? What do you think is the likely outcome? It's the big day for President Cyril Ramaphosa. It's the big day for the EFF. It's a big day for the ANC, for the GNU, for this country. The Constitutional Court will tell us if Parliament failed to hold President Cyril Ramaphosa accountable when the ANC used their majority in Parliament to vote against that independent panel report that found there's prima facie evidence of the president violating anti-corruption laws, and that there must be an impeachment inquiry. But then the ANC didn't want that. They didn't want their president to go through that, even though that process was actually going to just test the allegations and possibly even at some point get the president to walk scot-free, because he would have been exonerated, or it would have led to an impeachment inquiry, which then leads to the president ultimately being impeached. What are your thoughts? And do you think that we are owed an explanation as to why it has taken so long to deliver this judgment? Your calls on 011-883-0702. We're also taking Gratitude Friday, by the way. Every Friday, we want to know from you what happened this week that put a smile on your face. So your WhatsApps on that also coming on 072-702-1702.
Good morning, Clement. This is Selma of Report. I am very thankful to the Wits Donald Gordon Medical Center. My son had to go there for some tests and to see a specialist, and also to send him for a CT scan and blood tests. Well, all the people that we came in contact with, all the assistants and whoever helped us there, were so helpful and friendly and fast in serving us. It was just a joy. It was like a one-stop shop. I just want to comment on how wonderful we were treated. Thank you very much for a lovely show. Bye.
Hello, Clement and the listeners. What I'm grateful for this week is that today, 8th of May, is my birthday, and I'm turning 39. Happy birthday to me, and I wish me nothing but the best. And I thank the Lord for keeping me alive until this day, because I've lost so many people younger than me. It's Nkanyiso from Paklu.
Oh, Nkanyiso. Oh, man. Happy birthday to you too. And I hope you're going to enjoy yourself. If I had my singing voice on this morning, I would be singing for you. But all the best. Happy birthday, brother. It's 19 minutes before 10.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Tabo, you're calling us from Soweto. What do you want to say about the Constitutional Court and their Phala Phala judgment today?
Yeah, Clement, good morning, and good morning to the listeners.
Sure.
Clement, then I'm just saying, hey, we armchair sort of commentators like myself. I'm a layman, but from a layman's point of view, we usually overlook the law, and we overlook the facts. The facts are that Parliament had appointed this committee to investigate the issue around Phala Phala. And they made their recommendations to the Parliament. Parliament should either adopt or not adopt the recommendations by way of voting. So if EFF had participated all along when the vote was not in their favor, then they cried foul. So the Constitutional Court, according to me, would not want to encroach on parliamentary processes and procedures, unless if the processes and procedures of Parliament are not followed. Then the Constitutional Court can indicate that and can revert the matter back to Parliament to engage on it.
So are you saying that the democratic process is what's important here? Whether you like it or not, there is a number of people who voted in part in Parliament, and they happen to vote in the majority against this report, and you've got to respect that because that's the democratic process of Parliament.
Correct, because even if the Constitutional Court say Parliament has to re-look at this matter, at the end of the day, Parliament has to vote 2/3 majority.
True.
And the voting will dictate what will happen to the report.
True. But here's the challenge then, Thabo. It's not enough to just rely on the democratic process of voting. And Parliament actually spoke about this in the Nkandla judgment. And that is the precedent that's been set here, is that Parliament followed the very same democratic process you say must be respected on the Nkandla judgment. There were a majority of people, remember, they voted.
Correct.
And to protect the president. What did Parliament say? Parliament said, yeah, we respect the democratic process, but every decision of Parliament must still be rational. You can't just want to abuse your majority and take decisions that may be irrational, and we must all just take them because we think what? As long as there's a democratic process that was followed. So on the Nkandla judgment, the Constitutional Court said, no. The decisions of Parliament must still be rational. So that test of rationality doesn't come by looking at the democratic process. It comes by the Constitutional Court looking at the merits of the case and then deciding that Parliament here voted in the wrong way, or they didn't follow the right processes, or why would they want to dismiss a report of an independent panel that they constituted themselves? What was the point of constituting a panel if you're not going to respect its recommendations? So let's see how the Constitutional Court then takes that forward. And you're right. I mean, they won't tell Parliament what to do, but they can refer the matter back to Parliament and say, go and do what is rational, because the test of rationality is important in this case.
I agree 100%, but at the end of the day, I'm still saying the democratic vote will still
True.
come to the voting. But by the way, other institutions, law enforcement agencies, did not find anything. And we are really scratching on our rose because
Yeah, Thabo, I hear you. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you think the Phala Phala story makes sense? So forget what the public protector found or what the Hawks said or what the NPA or Reserve Bank. When you listen to it, someone arrived in this country with so much money, $580,000, and doesn't declare the money at the airport, and then takes it to the president's farm to buy the cattle that he doesn't collect years later. And then that money gets stored in the couches. It's not taken to the bank as required by law within 30 days. Does that make sense to you?
You know, the money on the couches, because somebody, if you wanted to steal that money, I'm sure those people that are arrested were the ones who put the money in the couches so that they can come and take it later. But I'm more interested in terms of the facts. You know, if somebody comes through OR Tambo and they get checked, they check the money is legit, the processes of OR Tambo are vetted, the SARS processes are vetted. To me, it's facts. And if there was any irregularity in that process, then I would, yes, want to challenge that. But if all the investigative body had found nothing, who are we really to come from a layman's point of to come and question that? Because we want this buffalo. We want the buffalo. We get clouded because Rinyaga buffalo.
So you don't think anything is weird there, that someone paid for the buffaloes and never fetched them, or they didn't get delivered years later? That's
no,
not
business
strange.
Business transactions, Clement, they get delayed for one reason or another. Most of the times, if you are involved in business transactions, sometimes like people who are involved in tenders, they get paid after 90 days. Some of them they get
But
paid
in this
after 2
case,
years.
this person didn't pay a deposit or 20%. Obafile kamoka.
Yeah,
Paid the full amount, full amount, and said, "I'm buying these 20 buffaloes right now." So what would be a delay for so many years that the person has not picked them up or the president's farm hasn't delivered them? What do you think could be the delay that lasts for so many years?
But those people can be the ones who are answering. Even the manager of Phala Phala would be the ones who are answering why was the delay. Now we don't know. We don't have the facts as to
But
why.
is it strange to you? I want to know from you. Do you think it's strange though? That because if it's not strange, then you must be able to say to me, okay, these are the two possible delays that could have lasted so many years. Because I asked the president when he was on this show, I asked him, how is it that someone came to pay for the buffaloes, but your farm has still not delivered them, or he's not come to pick them up? How does that make sense? And I asked the president, will you give this guy back his money? And the president said yes. I must find that clip. Abel, let's try find it to play to the listeners. So Thabo, the president said, yeah, we think we'll give this guy back his money. Why? Just give him the cattle. He bought the cattle. Why are you giving him back the money? And has he even given him back that money? I wonder.
Whether we can raise our hopes and speculate. At the end of the day, the law must take its course.
True.
And the law which will take its course is through these law enforcement institutions. And those law enforcement institutions found nothing untoward.
Yeah, they did. They found nothing. In fact, the NPA said there is no reasonable prospect of a successful prosecution here. So they said nobody is going to be prosecuted. The only person who's been found wanting is the head of security for the president, Wale Ruode. But the DC happened at the SAPS. He was exonerated. So in essence, as strange as this story may be to most people, nobody is held accountable. And today the Constitutional Court is likely to go, well, it is what it is. The vote happened. And I wonder if this chapter is going to be closed once and for all. It's 10 minutes before 10 o'clock.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Add a pinch of music on your weekend with the magical Marble Family Fest, where the acts are all next level with 2 stages, each with their own vibe. One moment you're in the middle of a Mikasa spectacle, and the next you're discovering something unexpected. Get ready to enjoy some of our country's best performers there to entertain you and your family all day and all night. Get your tickets at magicalmarblefamilyfest.com. Another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947. This 9th and 10th of May at James and Ethel Gray Park.
It's the final days of less 20% off everything at Dial-A-Bed. All our famous brands in all sizes, all less 20%. Purchase any 40 Winks product for 5,999 or more and we'll give you a free Mother's Day gift. 2 adjustable pillows worth 1,200 Rand. Shop in-store or online today. Dial-A-Bed. Sleep for life.
Imagine a holiday where the only thing on the to-do list is enjoy yourself. With Norwegian Cruise Line, you can sail to over 400 destinations worldwide effortlessly. Visit ncl.com for the best deals or contact your travel agent today. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here. T's and C's apply.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your clientele legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
7 minutes before 10 o'clock, we're edging closer and closer to 10 o'clock when the Constitutional Court will begin delivering its judgment on the Phala Phala matter. Did Parliament act rationally when it decided to, through the ANC majority, vote against that independent panel's report? And if the court finds that, well, Parliament followed its processes, then the matter probably gets buried. And we forget about it because the Hawks have done their work. No prosecutions are going to take place. The public protector has exonerated the president. The Reserve Bank has exonerated the president. The only two people here that were found wanting is Wally Rode, the head of security, who's also been exonerated through a disciplinary hearing. And, of course, this Sudanese businessman who came in with $580,000 because SARS told us that there's no evidence that suggests that this person declared this cash when he arrived at OR Tambo International Airport. Let's go to calls on 011-883-0702. Sydney, let's start with you in Randfontein. What are you grateful for?
Yeah, how are you, Clement?
Sharp, man. Go ahead.
Yes, man. I'm grateful for the wonderful week and rains, everything that I have. But the most thing that I'm grateful for is my wife. She's been so good to me. I don't know how will I be without her. Yes. And then on this case, I like the fact that you made about this Phala Phala saga. They say that how rational they were with comparing the case of Zuma and Ramaphosa. I mean, I can agree with you and say, even if the majority is wrong, they are wrong. They still can be still wrong. The case will be referred back to the court, constitutional, and be rechecked again.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way, and I'm sorry for using like such an extreme example. If Parliament, if some majority in Parliament wanted to vote to say imprison all the women or imprison all LGBTQI plus community members, right? And and then there's the majority of people vote. That's a democratic process in Parliament. They're within their right to vote. But is that a right decision? No. Why? Because that is in contradiction with the spirit of our Constitution. So when it gets to the Constitutional Court, yes, the Constitutional Court might respect that this was a democratic process and the majority voted that, this community must be imprisoned. But is it in line with the Constitution? Was it rational? And that's really what the Constitutional Court has to answer. It doesn't matter what majority you have. Now, the decisions must still be rational.
That's what I always say also. Even if 1 million people say the wrong thing, it's still a wrong thing. It doesn't matter how many people are there.
True. Sydney in Randfontein, thank you for your call. Gerald, you're in Krugersdorp. What do you think?
Yes, Clement, this does not make sense to me totally. Because one, there are laws, and those that are in Parliament are there to make sure that those laws are implemented and they benefit the majority. That's why they are voted for. And the majority there must always do things right for the majority of the country and follow the laws. It's not that Parliament is above every law that is there. They can now take decisions that contradict what is the prescripts of the law. Because the first start is that money got into the country and no one can account for it. Then that's where the first problem is. People must change the music from that point. Then there was a transaction between however, for animals. Then is it prescribed that a person can keep foreign currency in their house or in their private dwellings? If there is, the law prescribes for that, yes, then there's no problem. But if it doesn't, then there is another problem that must be dealt with.
Yep. Well, Gerald?
Then the recovery of the money after it was stolen, the mechanisms that were used and the misuse of power and resources, that's another challenge again, because citizens' arrest is always discouraged. But here, it prevailed and it solved the problem to recover the money. The money was recovered. Where is it now today? Is it in the bank? Is it declared? Did we receive necessary taxes on the money that came into our country? What is happening with the money?
Hey, yeah, there's a lot not making sense, but all will be clarified. Thank you for your call, Gerald in Krugersdorp. It's 2 minutes before 10.
Part of the 702 family.
Hello, my name is Yolanda from Beauty and Treats. I actually live in Melville. 702 means for me changing the narrative and also being very informative. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk. Experience pure country allure as a VIP at this year's Hollywood Bets Durban July with Spina Zonke. Stand a chance to win VIP experiences or a share of 1.2 million rand in cash. Bet 2 rand or more on selected slots to enter. This is your moment. Release your spirit. Release your victory. Release your glamour with Spina Zonke. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
The Rebirth of Ubuntu concert returns for its 5th edition live at Joburg Theatre 29 and 30 May at 7:30 p.m. celebrating 50 years of youth legacy, featuring Lira, Zoe Mudiga, Vusinova, Tutu Puani and Jimmy Zuzu, backed by a 20-piece orchestra conducted by Grammy Award winner Joe Arthur, curated and produced by the visionary Billy Munama. Tickets available at Web Tickets, proudly supported by Brand South Africa, City of Johannesburg, Arts Alive, 702 and ENCA.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. As the Constitutional Court prepares to deliver a landmark judgment in Parliament's handling of the Phala Phala burglary scandal, the EFF says it will accept whatever outcome is handed down. The party argues Parliament has failed in its constitutional obligation to hold President Cyril Ramaphosa accountable after it chose not to adopt a Section 89 panel report. Now, that report found that Ramaphosa may have violated his oath of office following the theft of more than $500,000 from his Phala Phala farm about 6 years ago. EFF supporters are expected to arrive outside court this morning ahead of the judgment. We cross now live to Alpha Ramushwana at Constitution Hill. Alpha, the EFF says it remains hopeful ahead of today's judgment.
Indeed, so in fact, the party says the best case scenario would be for the court to refer the matter back to Parliament to restart the process of retabling the Section 89 report. I spoke to the EFF spokesperson, Thembi Msane, who says that should the outcome not go in the party's favor, the EFF will have to reconsider its next course of action.
We'll look at other legal measures above the Constitutional Court on what can be done, because the panel that was set up by Parliament in Section 89 did find that Cyril Ramaphosa did breach the Constitution.
So the party says it's quite disappointing that it has taken the Apex Court more than a year to deliver judgment. Meanwhile, the EFF has set up a massive stage and jumbo screens for the party's supporters to watch proceedings from outside the court, but not a single bus has arrived at this stage to drop the EFF supporters. For Eyewitness News, I'm Alpha Ramshwana, reporting live from the Constitutional Court in Johannesburg.
Build One South Africa says it would be unrealistic for the party to contest all municipalities in the upcoming local government elections. Instead, its leader, Maimane, says it will be targeting a few metros and municipalities where the organization can make an impact. Bosa will be contesting its first local government elections this year. Following a failed merger with Rise Mzansi and the Good Party, Bosa has sent out a public call for community leaders who want to stand as its councillors and mayoral candidates. Maimane has told EWN that his party's electoral showing will depend on its candidates.
Ultimately, as Build One South Africa, we recognize that you are building a foundation upon which you have to make sure the right people are in place. You can become that role in any municipality, whether it be Johannesburg, whether it be Tshwane, whether it be Ekurhuleni, that you act as that kingmaker role and ensure that when coalitions are happening, we are asking South Africans to put us in a room so that somebody can talk sense, build strong government, and ensure that people are held accountable.
Two former Mondio High School matriculants whose visual arts exam papers have allegedly been lost say they are concerned about their future. In January this year, Aiden Aronsa and Ayush Maharaj were, as a result, informed by the school that the subject would not have a final mark. The pupils say they submitted their work as required, but the department has instructed them to rewrite the exam. Jabulile Mbata reports.
The two former matriculants say their lives have been put on standstill because of the dispute about their marks remains unresolved 6 months later. Their parents believe the work might have been misplaced by the school. Aiden Aronsa says he had applied to study finance in university and also to take part in sports as a hobby he is passionate about. He says rewriting is not an option.
We've put so much time and effort into our practicals and I feel like it's not acceptable.
While Ayush Maharaj says he wanted to study law at the University of Johannesburg.
I feel disrespected because I put in a lot of work and effort into my visual diary, into my pattern final, only for them to come around and say that I must rewrite.
They are still waiting for the Department of Education to conclude its investigation. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
And 3 hikers have died and 10 are missing after a volcano erupted in Indonesia. Government authorities say the early morning eruption was accompanied by a booming sound and thick smoke rising around 10 kilometers from the summit of Mount Dukono. Police say 7 people came down safely in an area declared off-limits to visitors last month after scientists observed an increase in volcanic activity. Rescue teams continue to conduct sweeps and evacuations of climbers in the mountain area. Gold is trading at $4,729.10 an ounce. The rand is at 16.45 to the dollar, 22.35 to the pound, 19.32 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $100.65 a barrel.
In the traffic in Germiston, there's been an accident on the N3 North at the Geldenhuys interchange causing heavy delays. And in Boysens, expect ongoing rush hour delays on the M1 North approaching the Crown interchange.
A cloudy and windy Friday for Gauteng with showers expected today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 17 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, as the Constitutional Court prepares to deliver a landmark judgment in Parliament's handling of the Phala Phala farm burglary scandal, the EFF says it will accept whatever outcome is handed down.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
On Sunday, 26 July, 7:02 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk unites us all in the iconic Joburg CBD.
7:02
Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 10 o'clock, Dumelang, welcome. This is the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. The justices have arrived in the Constitutional Court. In fact, Chief Justice Mandi Samaya is currently reading out the judgment. But don't worry, you haven't missed much. What she's doing now is just going through the background of who brought the case to the Constitutional Court, and what were they arguing. So we're going to take you live to the Constitutional Court to hear what Justice Maya is saying as she reads out this judgment. She's still going through the background, but what she started saying was that she takes full responsibility for the delay in the delivery of this judgment, and she tendered the apology of the Constitutional Court, but she didn't tell us why the Constitutional Court took so long. She just said, "I'm sorry, and I take full accountability." And I wonder if that's sufficient to you. It's 7 minutes now after 10 o'clock, so I'm going to take a quick ad break now, and then when we come back, we'll take you live to the Constitutional Court.
Yo, nothing humbles you like a cold shower.
Happens fast, eh? 1 minute you're living your best life.
Next minute you're questioning everything.
Fair. Here's a quick tip. If your geezer's acting up, don't wait for disaster. Small fixes now save big problems later.
And remember, if you buy cheap, you will shower in the lounge.
We've got loads more tips where that came from.
Quickot, #1 in water heating solutions. Quickot,
add warmth to life.
Celebrate Mothers on Sunday, the 10th of May at Nirox Sculpture Park in the splendor of the cradle of humankind. Wander through the sweeping landscapes, embrace contemporary sculpture, taste premium Cape wines, and savor gourmet cuisine, all to the sounds of some of South Africa's finest performing artists. Nirox is delighted to welcome Lyra back on their stage, as well as Steve Dyer's band alongside a 20-piece choir. Limited tickets are available from niroxarts.com. Nirox is a private, not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program, and artist support.
Moving to a bigger office space can be expensive. Thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I get to save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. Plus, I get My Business Assist, which helps me with marketing, legal, and admin services. Saving money while growing my business is a great win for me.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your monthly premiums. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 today for a quote. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
It's the final days of less 20% off everything at Dial-A-Bet. All our famous brands in all sizes, all less 20%. Purchase any 40 Winks product for 5,999 or more and we'll give you a free Mother's Day gift. 2 adjustable pillows worth 1,200 Rand. Shop in-store or online today. Dial-A-Bet. Sleep for life.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
10 minutes after 10 o'clock, Chief Justice Mandi Samaya is reading the judgment on Phala Phala. She's still going through the background, and then we'll get to the nub of the matters. Let's take you to the Constitutional Court.
And if not, whether direct access is warranted. 2, whether procedural issues bar consideration of the merits. 3, if not, whether Rule 129I and the National Assembly's vote declining referral to the Impeachment Committee are consistent with the Constitution. And 4, what remedy is just and equitable. 3 separate judgments have been produced in this matter. The first judgment is written by myself and concurred in by Acting Deputy Chief Justice Madlanga, Justice Theron, and Justice Rogers. On exclusive jurisdiction, it finds that the Constitution imposes clear and specific obligations on the National Assembly to ensure executive accountability, to put in place effective mechanisms to maintain oversight of the exercise of national executive authority, and to take appropriate action in holding the President accountable. It finds that the challenge to Rule 129I implicates the obligation to put effective mechanisms in place, and that the challenge to the National Assembly's vote implicates the obligation to hold members of the executive accountable and to take appropriate action against the President. It holds that the fact that the applicant relied on rationality and legality review grounds does not remove it from this court's exclusive jurisdiction. Where a constitutional obligation is implicated, this court has jurisdiction to hear the matter. The respondents raised other procedural issues which they argue should dispose of the matter, such as delay and mootness. This application was brought nearly 14 months after the National Assembly took its decision in December 2022. This court has previously held that it must be determined first whether delay is unreasonable, second, whether the interests of justice require that the delay be overlooked. The first judgment finds that the substantial delay, which was not explained, is unreasonable. However, it finds that several factors favor overlooking the delay, including the fact that there is no prejudice to any of the respondents, that this court's ability to adjudicate the matter has not been impaired by the delay, and the tremendous importance of the matter. The first judgment finds that there is a proper basis to overlook the delay in all the circumstances. The question of mootness can relate only to the EFF's attack on the National Assembly's decision on 13 December 2022. Parliament and the ANC argue that the terms of the 6th Parliament has expired, and so become more. Section 89 inquiry is now legally impossible. The first judgment finds that nothing precludes the adjudication of the challenge to the rule, as challenges to existing and fully operational statutory provisions can never be considered moot. Functionaries are generally held to enduring legal obligations attaching to their official capacities, despite the succession of incumbents or change in their ranks. One parliament could not be carried over to the next. It would be practically impossible to initiate and finalize impeachment proceedings. For these reasons, amongst others, the first judgment finds that the challenge to the impugned decision of the National Assembly is not moot. I turn to the merits of the matter. Section 89, subsection 1 of the Constitution contemplates a two-stage process for impeachment. A preliminary inquiry to determine whether a listed ground exists, followed by a decision by the National Assembly on whether or not to remove the President from office. This court has already held that the making of specially tailored rules is obligatory to regulate the process of impeachment under Section 89, subsection 1. The National Assembly did this in passing rules 29A to 29Q. However, the rules it passes must be effective in ensuring that appropriate action may be taken to hold the President accountable. Rule 129I permits the National Assembly to terminate the impeachment process at the preliminary stage before a full inquiry can be conducted into whether a ground listed in Section 89, subsection 1 exists. This has the effect of foreclosing full engagement with the merits of the motion, stifling informed debate and undermining the values of accountability and transparency that must inform the National Assembly's processes. It is not sufficient for the National Assembly to proceed directly from the stage of an independent panel report to a vote and thereby suppress an impeachment motion that discloses prima facie the existence of a ground under Section 89, subsection 1. The National Assembly is required to do more than merely table, debate, and vote on such a substantiated motion. The rule is therefore inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. The first judgment finds that the vote must follow in the rule's footsteps. Legally, the vote and the rule are on the same constitutional footing, and so the one must follow the other. The vote was influenced by a material error of law. It is therefore inconsistent with the Constitution and must accordingly fall. In respect of a just and equitable remedy, the first judgment finds that in this matter, a limited severance coupled with reading in is necessary to correct the rule in compliance with the Constitution, to to remain in effect until the National Assembly corrects the defect in the affected law. It would also be appropriate to refer the report to the impeachment committee, consistent with the reading in remedy order. The first judgment finds that the EFF has been successful and should be awarded its costs, though only the cost of 2, not 3 council as it asked. The ATM did not see costs. The second judgment written by my brother Coladan J, with Matopo and Chikri JJ and Sikobin AJ concurring, takes a different approach to the issues of exclusive jurisdiction and the constitutionality of Rule 129I. The second judgment locates its assessment of the issues by identifying the carefully structured interconnectedness and balancing of majoritarian and counter-majoritarian provisions in the Constitution. In doing so, it explores the disenfranchisement of the vast majority of South Africans prior to 1994 and recognizes that majoritarian measures are often democracy-enhancing and may, where they appear in the Constitution, represent a deliberate location of political power by the drafters of the Constitution. It is a choice course I would like to respect. In support of this stance, the second judgment cites this court's judgment in Ex parte Chairperson of the Constitutional Assembly in re certification of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, in which it held that this court has no power, no mandate, and no right to express any view on the political choices made by the Constitutional Assembly in drafting the new text. On the basis of these principles, the second judgment agrees that this court's exclusive jurisdiction over the challenge to Rule 129I is engaged, but for different reasons, different to those advanced in the first judgment. I is engaged, but for different reasons, different to those advanced in the first judgment. Relying on this court's decision in EFF2, the 2017 judgment, the second judgment finds that the only obligation imposed on the National Assembly by Section 89 is the responsibility to develop rules to facilitate the removal of the President. However, it notes that any decision the National Assembly takes in this respect falls wholly within its discretion. It can hardly be sustainable to suggest then, says the second judgment, that a discretionary power creates a constitutional obligation to hold the President accountable, as is found in the first judgment. In fortifying this finding, the second judgment distinguishes Section 89 from specific provisions of the Constitution, such as Sections 42 subsection 3 and 91 subsection 2, that expressly create mutual accountability obligations on the part of the President and the National Assembly. On the challenge to the rule, the second judgment aligns itself with EFF2 in finding that the only obligation Section 89 creates is for the National Assembly to put in place rules to facilitate the removal of the President, should it elect to do so. It is against this objective that Rule 129I must be assessed. The second judgment then identifies Section 89 as a deliberately majoritarian provision which vests a permissive power to impeach the President in the National Assembly alone. It concludes that in line with tried principles of the separation of powers and constitutional supremacy, this court is obligated to respect the powers Section 89 bestows on the National Assembly. On this basis, the second judgment finds that Rule 129I is not unconstitutional in that it properly operationalizes the permissive power of the National Assembly to remove the President. With respect to the challenge to the vote, the second judgment, unlike the first, concludes that this court does not enjoy exclusive jurisdiction over this challenge for two reasons. First, having concluded that Section 89 does not create a constitutional obligation to hold the President to account, it finds that the failure to discharge that alleged obligation cannot be relied upon to establish this court's exclusive jurisdiction, and the discomfort expressed in the first and third judgments in fact lies in the manner in which the National Assembly voted and not with the rule itself. Relying on this court's judgment in Van Rooyen versus the state, which draws a clear distinction between the adequacy of a rule and the exercise of power under a rule, directing that the appropriate remedy for the improper exercise of power lies in reviewing the exercise of such power rather than in the invalidation of the rule. Finally, and in response to the first and third judgments, the second judgment outlines what it believes to be two fundamental and insurmountable contradictions in the outcomes arrived at by those judgments. First, it cannot be that a vote taken in terms of an unlawful rule is automatically impugned by virtue of the unlawfulness of the rule. This very point is illustrated by the first and the third judgments. Despite the reasons posited for the unconstitutionality of the rule in each of those decisions, the rule in its current form may still yield lawful votes by the National Assembly. This would occur, for example, in the circumstances where the National Assembly accepts a positive recommendation of the panel and the matter proceeds to the impeachment committee, or where it refuses to accept a negative recommendation of the panel and the matter proceeds to the impeachment committee despite the panel's finding. With this in mind, the second judgment takes the view that whilst an act taken in terms of an unlawful empowering provision may be invalidated, where the empowering provision is declared unlawful, this should not be considered automatic. In this context, it has already shown that the rule is capable of producing valid votes by the National Assembly, despite the invalidation of the rule. Furthermore, the same outcome as the declaration of invalidity, as ordered in the first and third judgments, may be achieved through a rationality challenge to the vote, raising the inevitable question why unnecessarily impugn the rule when the same outcome may be achieved through a challenge to the vote. Second, the order proposed by the first and third judgments would oblige the National Assembly to accept a positive recommendation from the panel, but would allow it the discretion to overturn a negative recommendation from the panel if need be. There can be no conceivable reason for this contrasting approach to positive and negative recommendations from the panel. It recognizes the validity of the National Assembly's power to grapple with a negative recommendation from the panel, whilst denying it the exercise of such power when a positive recommendation is made. This contradiction lends support to the conclusion that the source of the first and second judgment's discomfort can be addressed through a challenge to the vote without impugning the rule. On these bases, the second judgment would have found exclusive jurisdiction in the challenge to the rule, but would have dismissed that challenge as Rule 129I passes constitutional muster. The third judgment, penned by Justice Majid with Justice Mhlandla and Acting Justice Tolmei concurring, agrees with the first and second judgment's reasoning and findings on exclusive jurisdiction with respect to the rule. That is, that the court has exclusive jurisdiction to consider its constitutionality. The third judgment, like the first judgment, finds that Rule 129I is unconstitutional, but on a different basis. The third judgment holds that Rule 129I deprives the full National Assembly of the opportunity to vote on the existence of a ground for impeachment and precludes a full ventilation of the facts that inform the vote. The National Assembly is constitutionally obliged to determine whether the President has committed conduct falling within Section 89, subsection 1, and that determination must be rational, evidence-based, and attributable to the National Assembly as the ultimate decision maker. In EFF 2, this court interpreted Section 89, subsection 1 as entailing a structured two-stage process. First, there must be an investigative and evaluative stage in which the relevant facts are gathered and assessed. Second, there must be a decision stage in which the National Assembly determines whether the jurisdictional facts for removal exist, and if so, whether to remove the President. While the investigative and evaluative tasks may be performed by committees or through other mechanisms, the constitutional obligation to determine whether a ground for removal exists rests solely with the National Assembly. The third judgment holds that Rule 129I inserts a third antecedent step prior to Rule 129J. Once a motion is initiated and referred to a panel, the panel conducts a preliminary assessment and reports on whether sufficient evidence for an inquiry exists. Thereafter, the National Assembly is required to vote, not on whether a Section 89 ground exists, nor or whether the President should be removed. That is the two steps envisaged in EFF 2, but rather on whether a Section 89 inquiry should proceed further. If the National Assembly resolves not to proceed, the process terminates at that point, and the Section 89 subsection 1 impeachment motion is never voted on. The National Assembly never gets to consider either the first or the second stage. This is a fatal flaw and a violation of the Constitution. The impugned rule as it stands requires the National Assembly to first step back and decide whether to engage in that process at all, and permits the process to be halted before it even begins. Even if the National Assembly were to consider the panel's report, its vote at the Rule 129I stage remains a procedural decision rather than a substantive constitutional determination. It is not a finding about whether the President has committed a serious violation or misconduct, nor does it pronounce on his or her inability to perform the functions of office. The fact that the National Assembly never applies its mind to the Section 89, subsection 1 question is further underscored by Rule 129M, which takes place at the impeachment committee stage. That stage is never reached if the National Assembly decides not to proceed beyond the panel. Rule 129M provides that once the National Assembly has resolved to proceed, the impeachment committee must establish the veracity and, where required, the seriousness of the charges. This necessarily means that the National Assembly's consideration under Rule 129I is not related to the veracity of the report. The National Assembly is therefore expected by the impugned rule to make a decision in the absence of the information that the Constitution requires for that decision. The result is that the preliminary stage does not facilitate the constitutional inquiry. It displaces it. This also undermines the majoritarian design of Section 89, subsection 1. The Constitution envisages that the decisive judgment whether to remove the President is to be taken by a special majority of the National Assembly, that is the 2/3 of the National Assembly, after engagement with the merits. But because Rule 129I allows the process to be halted at the threshold, the National Assembly is never called upon to make that value judgment. In summary, Rule 129I introduces an impermissible preliminary step that allows the National Assembly to decide whether to decide. In addition to the reasoning above, the third judgment holds that the Section 89 power cannot be exercised without a factual foundation. In order for a Section 89 subsection 1 ground to be established, there must be a finding that is partly factual. Is their conduct capable of meeting such a ground? and partly normative, does the conduct meet the level of seriousness envisaged by that section? That vote, as the rules stand, relates neither to the factual finding nor the normative determination of whether a listed ground exists. The third judgment further holds that this state of affairs results in a lack of transparency and openness in the process. The panel conducts its work on a limited written record, and the more rigorous processes of testing evidence, assessing veracity, and evaluating seriousness are reserved for the impeachment committee stage. If the process is halted before that stage is reached, the National Assembly's decision is taken without the benefit of a full and public exposition of the issues. The absence of transparency has consequences beyond the immediate decision. Where evidence is properly tested and placed in the public domain, it equips the electorate with information that bears directly on the exercise of political choice, including at the next election. It also enhances the conditions under which members of the National Assembly themselves deliberate. This does not mean that the National Assembly is obliged to reach any particular outcome, nor does it diminish its authority to decide whether to remove the president. It means only that the process through which that authority is exercised must be sufficiently open to allow for meaningful public scrutiny of the issues and the decision. The third judgment concludes that Rule 129I is unconstitutional and must be set aside. It further holds that the National Assembly's vote must likewise be set aside because it was taken under an invalid rule that prevented the National Assembly from properly determining whether a ground for impeachment existed. The vote, therefore, lacked a lawful foundation. Applying the decision of this court in Genesis Medical Schemes versus Register of Medical Schemes, the third judgment holds that once the rule is set aside, the vote taken under it cannot stand. The conclusion is this: the effect of the three judgments is as follows. This court, A, unanimously finds that it has exclusive jurisdiction in respect of the challenge to the validity of Rule 129I. B, by a majority, finds that it does not have exclusive jurisdiction in respect of the challenge to the NA vote. C, by a majority, concludes that Rule 129I is inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. D, by a majority, concludes that the NA vote is inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. And E, by a majority, concludes that the report must be referred to the impeachment committee. As such, the following order is made. 1, this court has exclusive jurisdiction to hear the application with respect to the challenge to Rule 129I. 2, it is declared that Rule 129I of the 9th edition of the Rules of the National Assembly, the NA rules, is inconsistent with the Constitution, invalid, and it is set aside. 3, pending any amendment, Rule 129I of the NA rules shall read as follows, open quote, Rule 129I, heading Consideration and Referral of Panel Report. 1, once the panel has reported, the Speaker must inform the Assembly of the report. 2, the President must be provided with a copy of the report forthwith. 3, in the event the panel concludes that sufficient evidence exists as contemplated in Rule 129G, the matter must be referred to the impeachment committee established by this rule or by the National Assembly rules for that purpose. 4, in the event the panel concludes that sufficient evidence does not exist as contemplated in Rule 129G, The Speaker must schedule the report for consideration by the Assembly, and in the event the Assembly nonetheless resolves that a Section 89, subsection 1 inquiry be proceeded with, the matter must be referred to the impeachment committee established by this rule or by the National Assembly rules for that purpose. 4. The severance and reading in paragraph 3 of this order shall apply subject to any amendment by the National Assembly. 5. Pending any amendment of the NA rules to the extent that any of the other NA rules are by implication affected by the reading in paragraph 3 of this order, those rules shall be read consistently with paragraph 3 of this order. Mutandis. 6. It is declared that the vote of the National Assembly taken on 13 December 2022, declining to refer the report of the independent panel to an impeachment committee as envisaged in the NA rules, is inconsistent with the Constitution, invalid, and it is set aside. 7. The report of the independent panel is referred to the impeachment committee established in terms of the NA rules. 8. The first to fourth respondents are ordered to pay the cost of the first applicant, including cost of two counsel, where applicable. I hand down the judgment. Court adjourns.
And there you have it. Oh my goodness. Trouble, trouble, trouble for the president. He has lost this case. As you have heard from the Chief Justice Mandi Samaya, the order is that Rule 129 of the National Assembly is inconsistent with the Constitution and is set aside. What is crucial here that you need to take away is that vote by the National Assembly, where the ANC abused its majority to decline to refer that independent panel report to an impeachment committee, that vote is inconsistent with the Constitution, it's invalid, and it's been set aside. So the report of that independent panel needs to be referred to the impeachment committee. What does this mean then for the president? If it goes to the impeachment committee, are they going to start an impeachment inquiry against the president? And if that begins, is that the process that the president is willing to go through? Right? That is the question. I don't see it happening. The president previously was even considering resigning. That's what he had told people around him, because he didn't want to go through the process of being humiliated through an impeachment inquiry. So the court has found Rule 129I of the Constitution is invalid. They found that vote is inconsistent. It was unconstitutional and invalid, and it's been set aside. So the report of the panel needs to be referred to an impeachment committee. Obviously, the dynamics have changed. And please give me a call and let me know what your reaction is. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Of course, things are a little different now because we have the GNU. The ANC doesn't have the majority anymore. But the ANC has the support of the parties in the GNU. So this puts the DA in a very uncomfortable position. Remember, I played you a clip of Helen Zille. After they signed the statement of intent, when they joined the GNU, the question I asked Helen Zille the following day was, what are you going to do if there's an impeachment vote on the president? And Helen Zille said, in that clip I played you, the agreement that the ANC pushed for was that you are never going to vote for the president, or you're not going to support the motion of no confidence in the president should it come. That's what the ANC pushed for. And the DA agreed to that. Unless, of course, the DA says there's criminality involved here, which then puts us in a tough position because you can't defend someone who is involved in criminality. I suspect the DA may come out and say, because, can you imagine the consequences of the president leaving office? There are two options we have. Either one, Paul Mashatile, who's the deputy president, takes over and he's your president. Or two, there are some negotiations that happen within the GNU to a point that maybe Jordan Hill-Lewis becomes the president of this country. Or maybe there's a third option that exists that I can't think of, except these two options. And I don't know which options would work better. And I suspect the DA may come out and say, look, we see where Parliament erred, but we don't think that this is an impeachable conduct of the president. The president must just apologize and say, I could have done things better. But we don't think that this is impeachable conduct because it's not like the president has stolen money. Oh, what do you think? 011-883-0702. Mpumelelo Zikalala is a legal analyst. I'm going to bring him on to just explain to you once more what this judgment actually means for the president and what the legal consequences are. Please keep your reactions coming. We'll get to them after I speak to Mpumelelo Zikalala. It's 17 minutes now before 11.
Aziz Shege, be in the game. Show your love for D-Ski with Hollywood Bets. We're taking the soccer season to new heights. You could win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Hilux double cab or Toyota Starlet Cross. All you have to do is bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture online or at your nearest branch. Bet now and strike for glory.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
To you, it's a bee. To your dog, it's a yummy flying jelly bean. But it could also end up being an expensive vet bill. Get peace of mind with Outsurance Pet Insurance from only 65 Rand a month. You get claims paid in 1 day, a fixed excess, choose your own vet, and you could get a cash out bonus. SMS quote to 45149. That's quote to 45149. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702. The Clement Manyathela Show. Let's walk the talk.
All right, 15 minutes before 11 o'clock, you're listening to the breaking news edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. We've just heard the big Phala Phala judgment, and Justice Mandisa Maya, who is the Chief Justice, read out the ruling is what I mean. And basically, the Concord has ruled that the Phala Phala vote was invalid and unconstitutional. Remember, the ANC used its majority to shoot down the panel's, the independent panel's report, which said there must be an impeachment inquiry because there's prima facie evidence that there may be wrongdoing conducted by the president. So that vote has now been ruled invalid and unconstitutional. And then the court also rules that rule number 129I of the National Assembly is unconstitutional. Mpumelelo Zikalala is a legal analyst joining us on the line. Mpumelelo, thank you for making time. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
In fact, Mpumelelo, just 1 second there. I see the EFF is just reacting now outside of Parliament. So let me just get the listeners to hear what the leader of the EFF says, and I'll come back to you.
Should have written by now to the Speaker to establish the impeachment process immediately, because we cannot wait for any longer. We have been waiting for too long now. The impeachment process must kick in with immediate effect, and that's what we're going to demand. And let's see the hand of the DA, which was with us when we were saying let's impeach. Now that they're eating bananas and apples, let's see if they will be able to talk with a full mouth.
How do you foresee this impeachment process being set up, Mr. Melema, particularly from a legislative framework from Parliament? How do you see it being constituted, knowing that there is no outright majority of any party right now in the National Assembly?
Well, we've constituted impeachment processes before, and then allocations to the impeachment committee will be determined by the numbers the party have. We've got an ad hoc committee now, and we're able to proceed with numbers of different parties that are represented in Parliament. That's how we are going to do it. It's just that the impeachment process is got investigative powers. The president has got to come, has got to sit there. He can't send any minister. And then, amongst other things, we're going to demand that the impeachment committee must go to Nkandla, We want to see where those people opened the hole, Phala Phala, how they opened the hole, how did they sneak in and steal the money, how did the money come in. All of that nonsense that was said by Reserve Bank, by SARS, by Public Protector, all of that nonsense is going to be exposed, that they were using those institutions to protect an individual and not the constitution of our country.
Shannon Merrick's CBC Africa. Mr. Malema, there's a saying, it's cold outside the ANC. Today it looks like it's hot inside the EFF. You've won in court, in the Constitutional Court. How do you feel? How's the weather in EFF after this positive judgment?
Well, we've always made it warm outside the ANC. The EFF, it can be an irritation to all of you. But imagine where this country would have been without the EFF. It's not for the first time that the EFF comes here to rescue this country from the corrupt, from the people who abuse their power and abuse the office they occupy. You must be proud to have the EFF. And everybody must say, this is a party I want to associate with, because this party, it might have a rhetoric of the left, but it respects the Constitution. It uses the Constitution to the best of its ability. It stretches the law to make sure that South Africans are protected from those who have power and want to abuse that power for their own individual benefit. How do you tell your bodyguard to go and investigate crime that is committed in your farm? That is abuse of power. You must go to police station. All of us, there's nothing special about Sir Ramaphosa. When there is a crime committed in my house, I can't send my helper. That bodyguard is a helper. He's not charged with the responsibility of investigating crimes in Vila Vila. There is a police station there. But because he thinks he's above the Constitution, the police station is too small for him. He's too big, and therefore he sends his bodyguards. All of that, all those bodyguards, all those helpers who were at the house, they will be there in Parliament to give their side of the story without being intimidated by police, without being intimidated by anyone.
Will you be going further in looking into the merits of the case? Because this judgment here doesn't speak to the merits of the case, of the prima facie evidence of wrongdoing in the violation of Section 92, subsection 2, subsection B of the Constitution, the Precare Act of the country. Will you be looking into the merits of the case of this matter, of whether the president violated the Constitution?
The impeachment process means exactly that. We are now going into the merits. We are now going to deal with every small part of evidence. Remember, the panel was limited. The impeachment process will not be limited. It can go for many years even, trying to come up with a clear report which demonstrates if there was wrongdoing or there was no wrongdoing. Remember, impeachment is not motion of no confidence. It has got dire consequences on the president. That's why it has to be thorough in its work, and we must make sure that that parliament provides sufficient support for the impeachment process to do its work. We might have won here, but we know the thugs we're dealing with. They might use parliament to limit the work of the impeachment process, including the resources. They did that with us in the ad hoc committee. They don't give us forensics, they don't give us experts, they don't give us all types of things that are required when you investigate matters of this nature. So this time around, we want to appeal to the Speaker of Parliament that her conscience must come back and she must know that this is for the country now. It's not for any individual. And if she wants to go down with Ramaphosa, as people who have abused their power to hide corruption, we want the exit evidence of the 20 buffaloes that left this country. We want evidence of the men who came to buy buffaloes when entering the country and leaving the country. We want to see a declaration of those dollars. And you must know that in terms of the loss of the country, the only currency that can be used to transact in South Africa is the rand. Not even in Diamond Walk can you use the dollars. In the Diamond Walk in Sandton City. Now the dollars get to be used in the village if they can't be used in Sandton City. And we want to believe that they followed the law. This is bigger than what you have seen here. Behind whoever is going to be sitting in the impeachment process in Parliament, on behalf of the EFF, we are going to assemble a big legal team that is going to give the proper support to whoever will be sitting there. We will put our own resources to make sure that the EFF comes up with real, evidence and real questions to investigate this matter thorough.
Something must be done about the police who didn't do their job and the prosecution.
Mr. Malema, Lunga here from the Mail and Guardian. What I want to know, would you be lobbying some of those in the ANC to say, look, they must vote to impeach the president? And how long do you actually think this impeachment process would take for the president to be impeached? And lastly, would you look inside maybe somewhere in the ANC, maybe for the deputy president to take over if the president is impeached?
No. You know this judgment. If we had a responsible president, he should be resigning. He should be resigning to prepare himself to come and answer the impeachment process. Remember, even if he resigns, he must still come for impeachment. So you cannot have a president who's preparing an impeachment process this side and then occupying the office of the president at the same time. You cannot serve the two. One is going to suffer. So he should go and concentrate on this impeachment process because it has got serious implications on him as an individual. And if I were him, I should resign with immediate effect to concentrate on this matter. We are not going to lobby anyone in the ANC or in any other party. Let people use their conscience like Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and say, I am for the Constitution, I'm not for an individual. And today, Mama Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is vindicated, and they should take a lesson from her that these things actually, they should not be factional and political all the time. We should always look at what is in the interest of the country.
I wanted to ask Mr. Malema that after this full inquiry by the impeachment committee, ultimately it will come to a vote.
Yes.
And it is very difficult to impeach a president because it requires two-thirds majority.
Yes.
How confident are you, therefore, that you will be able to remove the president if he doesn't resign, as you say, from office through a two-thirds majority? Because I don't see how ANC members would want to impeach their own president.
Well, my brother, they are going to impeach him because they have evidence will be before their eyes, and they will have to choose a crime over the Constitution. This is putting ANC again on a test. This is putting GNU on a test. This is putting DA, that claim to be constitutionalist, on a test.
That is putting the DA on a test. All right, that's what EFF leader Julius Malema says. What do you think? He says the president should resign with immediate effect. Do you think the president should resign? Have you considered what the consequences of that would be? Who then becomes our president? Or do you think the president must ride this wave because he can bounce back? And what do you think the DA does? Because they're now put in a very, very tight corner. It's 5 minutes before 11 o'clock.
Mzansi, get ready to Panda Pusha Play Powerball Plus for an unforgettable 83 million rand guaranteed jackpot this Friday. You heard right. Play Powerball Plus for the huge 83 million rand guaranteed jackpot today, and you could be celebrating millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, or cell phone banking. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Work isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are doing it with. Choose a workday experience that sets you up for collaboration, community, and rocket fuel energy. With WeWork, 24/7 access to open plan structure, stylish private offices, and a fully integrated co-working community. Unique workspaces designed for real people with real work days. Book a free guided tour at WeWork Rosebank, Sentinel, Cape Town. WeWork.co.za. Made for work, built for business.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
3 minutes before 11 o'clock. Your reaction on this groundbreaking president-setting constitutional court ruling on Phala Phala.
Halala. It looks to me that we are now in that space where we could be looking at 90 days, because it depends now on whether the president decides to resign or not. If he resigns, the GNU is in a very weak position. The Black Caucus is going to get rid of this dude. And then we're going to have a problem. Who becomes state president then? Or do we go into early election? Whose machinery is ready to go into an early election? The next 48 hours or this weekend is going to be a very interesting weekend.
Hi, Clement Bati from Gqeberha. Yo. This is really a landmark judgment, Clement. I must say I did anticipate that it might go this way. And then I think that this whole thing is not an impeachable matter. Parliament needs to do what they need to do, but I don't feel that it is an impeachable matter. I know those who don't like the president are rejoicing right now, but let's hope that it's not going to go there. Thank you.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's a home for dream creators, operators, and change makers. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Josie My Josie to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babi Zebonke. On Sunday, the 26th of July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Johannesburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be part of something special. You can enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the city of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Josie. Babi Zabonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
Chamberlain is now in the 4th generation and at 10 locations throughout Gauteng. Our differentiator is our long-serving and loyal staff. Available, knowledgeable. Can we help you? Big on stock, strong on service, built on values. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We begin with breaking news. Parliament has been ordered to begin an impeachment inquiry against President Cyril Ramaphosa after the Constitutional Court ruled it acted irrationally by not adopting a report which found he may have violated his office regarding his actions in response to the burglary at his Phala Phala farm. The Section 89 report, which was tabled before Parliament in December 2022, found Ramaphosa may have violated his oath of office and the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act. However, the report was not adopted by Parliament, with the ANC using its majority in the House to vote against it.
Judgments have been proposed in this matter. The first judgment is written by myself and concurred in by acting Chief Justice Madlanga, Justice Theron, and Justice Rogers. On exclusive jurisdiction, it finds that the Constitution imposes clear and specific obligations on the National Assembly to ensure executive accountability, to to put in place effective mechanisms to maintain oversight of the exercise of national executive authority and take appropriate action in holding the President accountable.
Maya then handed down the actual judgment.
It is declared that the vote of the National Assembly taken on 13 December 2022, declining to refer the report of the independent panel to an impeachment committee as envisaged in the NA rules, is inconsistent with the Constitution, invalid, and it is set aside. 7. The report of the independent panel is referred to the impeachment committee established in terms of the NA rules.
We cross now live to Alpha Ramashwana at Constitution Hill, where EFF supporters are gathered outside. The party had, of course, brought the case to the Apex Court. Alpha, how's the situation there?
Well, so EFF supporters have been picketing outside the Constitutional Court as it handed down a judgment on the party's court action on Parliament's handling of the Phala Phala scandal. The supporters have been singing and chanting in celebration following the Constitutional Court's ruling. The party has also set up a large jumbo screen and a stage outside the Apex Court, where its leaders are now addressing the party's supporters. The EFF's leader in Gauteng, Khululeko Dunga, is currently addressing the supporters. EFF leader Julius Malema has just got onto the stage, and in a few moments now we should get reaction from the EFF's leader. So the EFF says this is a victory for everyone, and it's a victory for the rule of law, and we should expect to hear Malema's views in a few moments' time. For Eyewitness News, I'm Alpha Ramashwana, reporting live from the Constitutional Court in Johannesburg.
Today's witness at the Madlanga Commission is testifying in camera in relation to the theft of drugs at the Hawks offices in Port Shepstone. 542 kilograms of cocaine was stolen from the unit's premises in 2021. Today's testimony comes a day after a retired senior Hawks officer told the Commission that some law enforcement officials should be on high of the list of suspects in the theft of drugs worth 200 million rand. A KwaZulu-Natal police officer killed in Durban is being laid to rest today. Captain Louis Nell was on duty with another colleague when they were shot last week. Nell died at the scene and the other officer was wounded and airlifted to hospital. KZN Police Head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is expected to address mourners, while Premier Thamsanqa Ntuli will deliver the eulogy. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports from KZN.
Louis Nell had just been promoted into the rank of captain, leaving the Special Task Force, taking up a new role in the crime intelligence. Nell was on active duty when gunmen claimed his life just 3 weeks into the new unit. KZN Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi paid tribute to him.
The loss of captain, it's a loss within the crime intelligence, and therefore it's a loss for the South African Police Service as a whole, because we lose the foundation of our crime fighting effort.
Mkhwanazi, who is also a former task force operator, says losing such a skilled officer is a dent to the entire service. Police are investigating the motive behind the killing, with the case likely to be handed over to the political killing task team. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
Gold's trading at $4,729.10 an ounce. The rand is at 16.45 to the dollar, 22.35 to the pound, 19.32 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $100.65 a barrel.
In the traffic in Edenvale, traffic is sluggish on the R24 West heading towards the Galulis interchange. And in Boysens, there's been an accident on the M1 North, slowing down traffic just after Goldrift City.
A cloudy and windy Friday in store for Gauteng with showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 16 and 17 degrees. The breaking story in EWN this hour. Parliament has been ordered to begin an impeachment inquiry against President Cyril Ramaphosa after the Constitutional Court ruled it acted irrationally by not adopting a report which found he may have violated his office regarding actions in response to the burglary at his Phala Phala farm.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Visit primemediaplus.com to enter 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Josie.
For Joburg, by Joburg, in Joburg.
Bamise bonke.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's Walk the Talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, Sanbonani, good morning. Welcome to the third hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's the third and final hour, and we have been covering the breaking news coming out of the Constitutional Court. So, we spoke about the Phala Phala judgment on the 702 open line, debating what are the likely scenarios. Well, it's now been settled. The Constitutional Court has ruled that Section 89 report must be referred to the impeachment committee. Remember that report, that independent panel report that was chaired by the retired Chief Justice, Sandile Ngcobo, which found that there's a prima facie case against the president and that there must be an impeachment committee where more information is considered and there can be a vote on whether or not to impeach the president. I mean, it may take some time before we get there, but what the independent panel report was, let's constitute a committee that can look at all the relevant information that can decide whether the president committed serious misconduct that would warrant his impeachment as per Section 89 of the Constitution. So, the first thing you need to understand this morning about the Constitutional Court judgment is that that vote in Parliament, where the ANC used its majority to shoot down that independent panel's report, that has been set aside. The Constitutional Court says that vote was invalid, it's unconstitutional, and it's now been set aside. The second thing you need to know is that the National Assembly has to amend Rule 129I of the National Assembly in line with the court order and then refer that report to the impeachment committee. And the question now is, what does this mean for President Cyril Ramaphosa? Parliament is completing its statement, I've been told. They are just finalizing their statement. But the EFF is excited about this ruling because it's ruled in their favor. They're saying the president must resign immediately. They're calling for an impeachment process against the president to kick in as soon as possible. And in that impeachment process, they want the president to come. They want the committee to even go to Phala Phala. I don't see how the president can subject himself through such a grilling process. Remember, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, the former public protector? She went through an impeachment inquiry in Parliament. And that is not something that is actually quite cool to go through because it gets really hectic. And if you're a state president, basically your responsibilities are put aside because you've got to sit through those committees. And at some point, you're brought in to testify yourself. I don't think the president would put himself through that, which is why previously he was considering resigning from the position. What do you think of this judgment that's come out of the Constitutional Court? What do you think the president should do? And what do you think the Democratic Alliance should do? Because they are put in a corner now. Should this matter get to a point where you vote on whether to impeach the president or not, what are they going to do? 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
All right, let's understand the legalities of this judgment now. Mpumelelo Zikalala is our legal analyst joining us on the line. Mpumelelo, thank you for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and also good morning to you.
And thank you so much for your patience in holding while we were taking the EFF leader live outside of court. First of all, very clear what this court has ruled. They are saying that the vote in Parliament was invalid and therefore that vote is set aside. Can you just help us understand just that aspect? What justification the court gave for finding that that was unconstitutional and invalid?
Well, the court in no fewer words was saying, as members of parliament, we expect you to be independent. You want your intellect and you want your let's say your political argument, or an argument to say how to defend the interests of all South Africans. Now, if you are going to go to Parliament and not apply that, it makes it a bit difficult, especially on the back of a report that says this is not a final report. We're not able to do further investigation. We're of the view that we should investigate further. And simply without considering that investigating further aspect or instruction that has been given, you simply stand up and say, let us put this report to bed, it becomes the end of it. So Parliament was saying in future, if you're going to have rules that are rubber stamping the decisions that have been given to you, that's where you're going to have a problem. So take it back, go and do a proper investigation and take decisions based on the proper merits and facts that has been provided to you, not on a process in which you are simply saying, let's rubber stamp and get it over and done with.
Yeah. There's also a question about Rule 129I of the Constitution, because that must be amended. What issues that the Constitutional Court have with those rules of Parliament? So, Mpumelelo, can you hear us?
Hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it basically takes away the role of Parliament in terms of applying their minds and says, you are sort of bypassing a step and not allowing proper processes to be followed in the rules that you have created. Remember, Parliament will have its own set of rules, which when those rules are passed by Parliament to accept it, they still must pass the constitutional master, in which in this case the Constitutional Court was saying this rule of yours does not pass the constitutional master at all. What it then says to us is that you can have rubber stamping which is going to take place without proper due process having been followed. What we're looking for here is a substance of the section in the Constitution that says whenever an allegation has been made, take it to a proper committee, deal with facts as they come in, get to the proper merits, allow other individuals to respond, and then only then take a decision on whether you want to proceed or not. So we're not going to have processes or rules which use majoritarian processes without following or listening to what the merits of those matters actually are. So it basically says to this committee and all other committees that are going to be there, whenever you take a decision, make sure that you've got all the proper facts, people have been allowed to respond, and based on that, then you can come to a decision. So rationality becomes very important.
Okay. And then lastly, if the president decides to resign now, before this matter is even referred to this impeachment committee, what happens then? Would he still be required to appear before the committee? Because now the Section 89 is very clear. It speaks of a sitting president.
Maybe for purposes of checking whether his pension and all the other benefits are supposed to follow him, you may find that it's going to be there. Remember, when it comes to impeachment, you then have all those rights which are taken away from you as a former president. So on that basis, you may find that you may still have to come and account to Parliament. Secondly, as any member of the public or self-concerned citizen, if you are called by Parliament, you go there unless you have a specific reason why you do not want to attend. You may find that it's from the side of the maybe political parties or even Parliament itself would say, you are the number one of the country, we need to hold you accountable. Are there any benefits that have taken place? Is there anyone who's supposed to investigate that hasn't done so, maybe through you misleading them? Let's take it from there in terms of all this process. So we may find that even if after he's resigned, he may still have to come back and deal with these issues. But resigning will not necessarily assist him, or let me say it's too premature for me if I was him. Because you still have an opportunity to go and present.
Oh, sorry, Mpumelelo, we lost you. He still has an opportunity to do what?
To present his evidence and his stance.
But does he want to go through that, Mpumelelo? I mean, you've seen how grilling those processes can be. I mean, you basically are sitting in Parliament for hours to no end, and you're taking these questions, some of them very brutal, from members of the opposition. I mean, a sitting president to allow themselves through that process, do you see that?
If he's really innocent, there is nothing to hide, he'll go through that process. Secondly, if he's really prepared by his legal team to say this is the stance and the type of questions which are going to be asked to you, then you can take it from there. Then you must make a distinction between political questions and legal questions which are going to be used in assessing whether the impeachment process should be there or not. So it's up to him whether he wants to go through with that whole process, or he's simply going to say, I'm simply throwing in the towel and letting it go. But you must also remember, even if you do throw in the towel, there's nothing stopping further investigations, because there are elements of criminality that have taken place. They still need to be investigated. You still need to answer on those ones. But
then the NPA, which is a constitutional body that decides whether or not to. So they've dropped all these cases against the president. So, I mean, Parliament doesn't investigate criminal conduct. It more investigates the conduct of just the behaviors of the members of parliament. So in that case, then, what would they still need to investigate if all other law enforcement institutions and other independent institutions like the public protector, even the Reserve Bank, have exonerated the president?
Remember that you then need to go back and say, on what basis do you say that? What sort of submissions did you have from the side of the president? There is private prosecution from the side of the NPA. Public protector is going to court and setting aside that particular application. However, that needs to be activated or actioned by one individual or another. So, because the law is like a button that you can be able to press, but if no one presses it, nothing is going to come back as a response. If you look at the rational aspect of all these submissions that have been made, it's kind of suspicious to say, how can the public protector, NPA, and all these individuals come in and say the president is not involved if they haven't provided what they relied on? And the only thing that you can rely on is a submission and affidavit that has been submitted by the president to say, I'm not involved in this whole operation. It's not something which is irrational or something which cannot happen, where a person could be the owner of the business and there'll be criminal activities and they don't know about it. But you then have to go back and say, in what instances, how did it come about? Did you have, or would a reasonable person in your shoes ought to have known that something like this is happening with your farm? And once you've realized that something in this magnitude has taken place, what actions did you take? Are those actions somehow in how a reasonable president would act? Or is there something suspicious that would need to investigate? If there is, then the basis of saying that there's no investigation, the basis of saying that there's no prosecution simply means at the end of the day, someone was supposed to do their job, they haven't done so, and then we must take it from there.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting. Pumelelo Zikalala, thank you so much for coming through to help us understand this constitutional court judgment better. And Pumelelo Zikalala is a legal analyst, and just to remind you, what the Constitutional Court has found is that that Phala Phala vote, where the ANC used its majority to shoot down that independent panel's report, has been declared invalid and unconstitutional. It's been set aside. The court has also found that Rule 129I of the National Assembly is unconstitutional. And just to remind you what that rule is all about, Rule 129I of the National Assembly pertains to the procedure for dealing with the reports from an independent panel regarding the removal of the president, particularly following a Section 89 inquiry. So it establishes the process for referring or not referring an impeachment motion to a committee. So a key aspect of the case in this Rule 129 of the National Assembly's impeachment procedures, which was applied for the first time, by the way, after being adopted back in 2018. This rule provides that the National Assembly retains discretion to decide whether to proceed with impeachment after receiving a Section 89 panel report. And what this court has found is that this is actually unconstitutional, because actually, even if, for instance, you've got a panel report that comes and says this is a process that must be followed, you could have people who vote in their majority just to protect that president and not because there is no case to answer, which is why the Chief Justice explained in detail what needs to happen going forward, especially when it comes to the Rule 129I of the National Assembly. That has got to change, because when you say to an independent panel, you are assembling experts. You are not experts as members of parliament. You're not legal experts. So when there's an independent panel comprising of legal experts, the best of the best in the country, if they say to you, we think that there is a prima facie case here against the president, why would you then think it's rational to disagree with the very same experts you brought in because you rely on their expertise? Why would you turn your back against a recommendation of the very body you established to help you navigate these legal dynamics? It just simply doesn't make sense. And this Rule 129I opens the door to the abuse of a majority by an organization or by a GNU in this context, because that may very well be the case if the matter gets to that point. So, again, I ask you, what do you think the president needs to do now? Do you think the president must allow for this matter to be with the impeachment inquiry? And by allow, I mean he must come and appear there and prove his side of the story? And if he's willing to do this now, why was he not willing to do it then? Why was he considering resigning back then, when the independent panel report found that there's prima facie evidence that he may have acted irregularly? Let me know your thoughts. After the break, I'll go to your WhatsApps and calls. It's 22 after 11.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
It can't be great for an institution where morale is already low to find yet another scandal involving an institution that they had decided they trusted. Who's supposed to be looking over the work that they do? Who would have been responsible for making sure that they stayed on the straight and narrow, which clearly they didn't?
Institutions like the Army Foundation are regulated by a chapter in the General Regulations to the Defence Act. The specific chapters, such an institutional fund should have a management board of sorts.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
If your mechanic was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to Outsurance saved 35-year-old Zanai a whopping 1,180 Rand on her 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you have been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers 2 options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual-action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple-action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
Still shopping around for a saving here and a deal there? Choose Checkers, SA's #1 in value supermarket. And save on deals like Clover Butro full cream modified butter spread, 500 grams for $79.99. Kellogg's All Bran Flake cereal, 1 kg for $79.99. And Baby Soft 2-ply fresh white toilet rolls, 24-pack for $159.99. Save 60 Rand. Valid until 10 May. Only at Checkers.
Looking to upgrade your office furniture this year? Desk & Chair, the direct office furniture manufacturer, has a deal you don't want to miss. Get 5% cash back towards your existing office furniture with all purchases over 350,000 Rand. Contact Desk & Chair now for more info. Visit our newly renovated showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk & Chair. Think, feel, work better. T's and C's apply.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
25 minutes after 11 o'clock, it's the breaking news edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. You've heard from Pumelelo Zikalala, who's a legal analyst, what the legal implications of this constitutional court judgment are. I mean, there are major implications here politically, legally as well. And I want to take some of your reaction now. There's a lot I still want to do for you. I want to bring in the ANC. I would like to bring in the EFF, even though we've heard from the EFF leader. I want to bring in a political analyst who can help you understand what the political ramifications are. But I also want to take you a couple of steps back. I've had the president on this show, and I've asked him before if he had considered resigning when this matter was about to go to an impeachment inquiry. And I'm going to play you the clip of how he responded to that question. But also, I want to play you clips of the president's best friends who told me on the show when this matter was unfolding in Parliament. They told me that the president was considering resigning. So the question now is he still going to consider resigning, or is he going to ride the wave? Because that would really take a lot of his time. So no international travels for the time period of the impeachment inquiry, because he's got to be in Parliament. And he's likely to be called in even himself to sit through that impeachment and take some questions from the members of Parliament. They may even have to go to Phala Phala, the committee That's what Julius Malema said they'll be pushing for. So the consequences are quite severe here politically for the ANC, for the president. And I want to remind you of what the president's best friends have told me on the show. And if he decides to resign, what are the implications? Paul Mashatile becomes our president? Or is it Jordan Hill-Lewis? Or is there another option that you think could be considered? Thompson, let's start with you in Midrand. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Morning, Clement. How are you, my friend?
Sharp, man. Go ahead.
I'm all right, man. First of all, I'm happy with the judgment. And, I've always been saying the reason why the Constitutional Court actually delayed this whole matter, it's because they knew what was coming. And I know people sometimes always like to think that timing shouldn't be considered in law. But realistically speaking, we need to be realistic. Timing always matters, even when it comes to judges. They look at things, they weigh in a whole lot of things. They knew what was coming, but then obviously it was a question of when do we do this judgment? And then because now the ANC is approaching the elective conference next year, watch. There's going to be a lot of things unfolding on Cyril Ramaphosa. He has a lot to answer for. And what the ANC did when they voted in Parliament, they knew very well that what they were doing was wrong. But obviously they were protecting the president together with the DA, because also the DA was also part of protecting the president, because at the end of the day, it's all about interest.
What makes the timing good now, Thompson? If you're saying that they probably considered timing, which I don't really think they may have, because that would actually go against what they're expected to do as justices, why do you think they waited up until this moment? What makes this current timing good?
As I'm saying, Clement, I know, my friend, we all want to believe that, the judges shouldn't consider timing. But we are dealing with politics, and we need to be realistic. Now, what makes this timing good for now? The ANC next year, as I'm saying, is going for an elective conference. And what does that mean? The leadership is going to change in any case. So whatever implications that will have moving from now on towards next year, the fallout, at the end of the day, the ANC will have to see how they navigate this whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you look at the implications in terms of timing, the president has got short time, a short time. So they wouldn't really, it wouldn't really matter whether they make this judgment now, because next year you're going to have a new ANC president anyway.
Okay. Thompson in Midrand, thank you. Sebastian in El Dorado Park, what do you think?
Yes, Clemens. My thinking is I'd just like to see the DA on the high moral ground that they have. What are they going to do should it come down to the vote? Because they go in, they said, not with that corrupt EFF or the corrupt NK, the Doomsday Coalition. I would like to see their moral ground as to what are they going to do when it comes to the impeachment vote. Thank you, Clement.
Thank you so much. Telo in Centurion, what do you think? Hi.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
I'm good, thanks. Look, Clement, there is no evidence that the decision, the report of Sandile Ngobo really has merit. If you look at how the NPA has decided on the matter, how the public protector has decided on the matter. My problem is that what should the parliament or what should the speaker do when they go for a report and the report that they get is irrational, unreasonable, or doesn't make sense? Should they just nevertheless proceed and go for the impeachment process? I know the judgment didn't deal with the merits, but if you get the report that from Sandile Ngobo, and after reading it, you see that it doesn't merit going to impeachment process because maybe it's clearly wrong, or maybe it doesn't make sense. Should you just continue? Because they say 128I rule is unconstitutional.
Yeah,
and that's where the problem is at.
Okay, Sitelo in Centurion. I'll respond to that after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Edward in Cape Town, I'll also start with your call after the headlines. It's 11:31. Bali, it's the breaking story this morning. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. A very good morning. Parliament has been ordered to begin that impeachment inquiry against President Cyril Ramaphosa. It comes after the Concourt ruled it acted irrationally by not adopting a report which found he may have violated his oath of office regarding his actions in response to the burglary at his Phala Phala farm in 2020. The Section 89 report, which was tabled before Parliament, found Ramaphosa may have violated Section 96 of the Constitution by undertaking paid work. That report was not adopted by Parliament, with the ANC using its majority in the House to vote against it. 42 Namibian tourists remain stranded at the Oudtshoorn Mountain Resort. They are among 64 people, including schoolboys, teachers and staff. Garden Route Disaster Management say yesterday's evacuation attempt with the SANDF failed, as the resort is situated at the foot of a dam which is currently spilling over. And a KZN police officer killed in Durban is being laid to rest today. Captain Louis Nell was on duty with another colleague when they were shot at last week. Nell died at the scene while the other officer was wounded and airlifted to a hospital. KZN police head Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is expected to address mourners, while Premier Tamintuli will deliver the eulogy. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
So in the traffic, there are currently no major accidents or any heavy delays, but in Edenvale, traffic is sluggish on the R24 West. This is near the Galulis interchange. In Boysens, there's still some slow-moving traffic due to an earlier accident just after Goldrift City. And look out for faulty traffic lights in Bramley at the M1 North and Collet, in Woodmead at Woodmead and Woodlands, as well as in Kyalami at the R55 and Kenilworth. In the city of Tshwane, traffic lights are also out in Queenswood at Gordon Road and Woodlands Drive, as well as in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein. If you come across any other traffic, please do send a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. Karabo Chale is up next with the next updates.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Get ready to enjoy double the music, double the fun, and double the festival at the Magical Marble Family Fest this 9th and 10th of May at James and Ethel Gray Park, with 2 stages stacked with the country's best performers like Mikasa, DJ Zintle, Good Luck, and so much more. Are you ready to experience what the creators of the luxurious marble circus have created as they bring you magic, music, fun for everyone? Get your tickets at magicalmarblefamilyfest.com, another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with 947.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion, because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The National Council of and for Persons with Disabilities, NCPD, has officially launched Casual Day 2026, calling on South Africa to beat as one. Get your stickers and supporter items today. Beat as One celebrates how our different rhythms come together to create something extraordinary. Casual Day has been making a difference for over 32 years. Visit casualday.co.za to learn more.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock. What are the political implications of this Constitutional Court judgment, which has found that vote in the National Assembly that shot down the independent panel's report is declared invalid, unconstitutional? It's been set aside. And that Rule 129I of the National Assembly needs to be referred back to the National Assembly. I'm going to bring in Lukwana Mguni now, who is a political analyst, to help us understand what we can expect on the political front. Lukwana, thanks for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your listeners.
So does the president resign now or not? What would you advise him to do?
I think it's definitely something that is on the cards. Remember, it's not even us advising what he should do. He wanted to resign when the panel report came out, and he didn't want it to proceed any further by his own doing. I mean, there were two options: either he resigns, he promised to review it, he didn't review it. So that report stands because it has never been subjected to a review. And therefore now the Concord is quite clear that report must go straight into an impeachment committee. I have no doubt that the president is consulting quite widely within the ANC in the presidency to try and probably see what are the best steps. But my sense is that he probably goes in the next 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's my sense too. I mean, can you imagine Lukhona, him subjecting himself through that grilling, compromising process of impeachment? Because he would need to be there. The EFF leader said, we need him to come in account. We would need to go to Phala Phala as well. I mean, I don't see him subjecting himself through such a process.
Clement, it would be an onerous process, particularly for the ANC, because in the first instance, as you are saying, a site visit, summoning up CCTV footage, security footage at Phala Phala, whether to see how the money got there, whether this Mustafa even set foot in Phala Phala, summon Mustafa into the country if a way can be found, summon records at immigrations and Home Affairs. Did this Mustafa ever get scanned his passport into the country on the set dates? So this opens up the opportunity for an investigation. And I think, Clement, the truth is not really what has been said to the public and this process. And I think people are more focused, but the ANC can still make sure that, you don't get 2/3 majority. It's not about that. Of course, you need 2/3 majority. The ANC has 40%. So it means naturally you don't have 2/3 majority without ANC members voting with the rest of the opposition. But that is not the problem.
But
that's
vote,
too far.
Yeah, that vote would only come much later, and that's not really the issue here. The issue is
the political issue is the process. The political problem is the process, the information that gets unearthed. Bejani Chauke will have to be called in front of that committee. Rude will have to be called. The Reserve Bank, by the way, the governor, this has implications, Clement, for so many people. The governor will have to go and account for that statement that they said they find no wrongdoing. SARS in terms of customs and declaration. The public protector herself may be called to come and explain her report and how she got the places to where she got.
If he decides, okay, I'm resigning now, does this then make the process mute in Parliament? Because Section 89 is very clear because it speaks to the sitting president. So if he resigns, is the matter now closed?
Well, Clement, we were talking with some colleagues and some legal people here in the Constitutional Court just after the judgment was handed down to say it might actually trigger another court process, because remember what the justices are affirming about the Section 89 is that it is a two-stage process. So the process was started during a period of a sitting president, and effectively they've also said you can't say because this matter was initiated in the previous administration, therefore in the new administration it falls away. And I think that's very important. Well, the president could resign and then say, but I'm not a sitting president, I can't be subject. And then Parliament, and then of course the speaker says he's not a sitting president. And then we'll have to go through an entire legal process. And the importance of that, Clement, would be Section 89 is not just any process. It's the only section where you can remove a president and then they lose their benefits. That's where it becomes important. So to then run away from accountability so that you preserve your benefits is almost like what we see in the public service sometimes when people are faced with a disciplinary hearing, they then quickly resign, and there's serious political and legal question. Even if he resigns, but he might buy time to 2 years, 3 years, because remember, the ANC itself in this matter is fairly implicated, and he may want to buy time for the ANC too.
Yeah. Lastly, what then happens if he resigns? I mean, Paul Mashatile likely becomes the president. Does the Jordan Hill-Lewis, does the DA then somehow have a conversation with the ANC around Jordan Hill-Lewis taking over? Where do you see it going? Should the president decide, I'm not going to subject myself through that impeachment process?
Well, my sense now where I am, Clement, is that you then get probably a caretaker president from the ANC, where President Paul Mashatile says, look, I have ambitions to lead the ANC. If I become president now, I will have a year and a half almost of being a country president, and if there's real lack of confidence in me as country president, it might jeopardize my opportunity of being elected at an ANC conference. So therefore, he might then just say, let me bide my time. Let's get another ANC comrade who's already in cabinet, being the one who's a caretaker president. And then, of course, the DA might say, this is an important moment, time to reset. You know, Clement, there are two ministers of the ANC who are already implicated in scandals with the Chinese vehicles and appointments of people in some of their offices. And then the DA might say, okay, we want to increase our share in cabinet from 6 seats to 8 seats or 9 seats, or bring in more other parties into the cabinet. So it will definitely be, if he resigns, there will be some changing of the decks, without a doubt, but I think the ANC will probably end up with a caretaker president.
Lukon Mnguni, political analyst, thank you so much for your time. All right, so the DA has just dropped a statement. The EFF has just written to the Speaker of Parliament. It's getting so heated. I'm going to read you the DA statement. The ANC, we're getting them on the line as well to come and give us their reaction after the break.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
In the news this week, fuel prices are rising yet again, but there's some relief for ShopRite shoppers. With ShopRite's bulk buying power, they're able to secure stock long before prices increase, which means that they can keep their prices lower for much longer. So you can save on deals like Weet-Bix 900 gram for a low $52.99 and Ray Coffee 750 gram or 800 gram refill for only $129.99 each. Valid until Sunday the 10th of May. Lower prices you can trust always.
The beeping machines, the hospital smells, the moments of fear. And all that remains is what matters most.
Dad's home!
Because recovery isn't about the procedure or the paperwork. It's about getting back to the people and places that matter to you. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. Voted #1 medical aid in the Ask Africa Orange Index Awards for the second year running. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
15 minutes before 12 o'clock, the breaking news edition of the Clement Manyathela Show as we reflect on this Constitutional Court judgment. Mahlengi Pengu speaks on behalf of the African National Congress and joins us now on the line. Mahlengi, great to chat to you. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Good morning. And good morning to 702 family.
So this judgment from the Constitutional Court is effectively saying you, as the ANC, you were wrong to vote down this report, this independent panel's report in Parliament.
Yes. That essentially is what the judgment is saying, and therefore it calls on the ANC to go back to that particular conversation and to do a reflection, a self-reflection, because for the ANC, respect for the rule of law is sacrosanct, and that is why we got into the struggle, and that is why we're still in the struggle, even parties that are impugned by the rule of law.
Mm-hmm.
We always urge everyone to ensure that we respect the decisions of the judiciary and the judicial independence.
Okay, so what do you advise the president to do then as the ANC? Because the Constitutional Court judgment effectively paves the way for an impeachment process to begin in Parliament. As the ANC, do you advise that the president must go through this impeachment process so that at the end of the day we can know whether or not he has committed any misconduct?
I'd suggest, Clement, you yourself being part of leadership of the space that you are in, it's way too early to expect the ANC to pronounce on a matter like that. We need to study the judgment, one. Two, and then we need to offer guidance to the president, who is our deployee. We also need to look at other legal avenues available that may very well be explored by various parties, including parties that are not interested, ANC parties, but South Africans that have come forward and believe that President Cyril Ramaphosa is given the type of leadership that is given to society. But I would say that I think we are really running ahead to expect that the ANC would now have a view just an hour or two after the pronouncement by Concord.
Yeah, but at a broader level, Mahlengi, if the president has got nothing to hide and he's so convinced that he didn't do anything wrong, what is wrong with going through a process that's going to exonerate him?
I haven't said that there's anything wrong with that. I don't want to come across as though we're putting up a defense right now. Clement, if you really listened to what I was saying, I just don't think that it's fair for any media house, and it's the first one, this one, to expect us to say this is what we're going to tell the president. I think, I'm sure you know that as a spokesperson, I can't even make that determination alone. And I think that merits a discussion, a discussion that is backed by facts. And it's as simple as that, really. I don't think the ANC can run away from this issue. But I don't think that right now I should come in to you to say we're going to tell the president to do the following. I'm sure you know that you wouldn't be expected to do the same if you were in a similar position.
What becomes the next process then? Is the NEC going to meet? Is it the NWC? What leadership structure within the ANC then is going to deal with this matter?
Well, we do have standing structures, as you rightly point out. The officials meet every Monday, and I'm certain that they will have a conversation even before Monday on this particular matter, given the sensitive nature of it. And we should be in a position to communicate to South Africans about our reading of the judgment and our initial reaction to the judgment. I mean, that's normally just the course of action that you have to follow if you are being responsible in your communication.
All right. Mahlengi Pengu, let me thank you. I appreciate you making time for us. She's the ANC spokesperson. So the ANC at this point are saying, look, we respect the judiciary, we respect the rule of law, and we need to go and reflect as the ANC because our actions have been found wanting. We voted down an independent panel's report that we shouldn't have voted down because the Constitutional Court has now declared that conduct or that decision of the National Assembly invalid and unconstitutional. But he can't say whether the president is going to be advised to go through this process or not. Hence my question. If the president has got nothing to hide, if the president says, actually, if we go through this process will prove that I didn't do anything wrong, then why not go through the process? But that's a grilling process. It's going to require so much from the president. If he was willing to resign back then, why would he be willing to go through this process this time around? What are the political implications if he does resign? 9 minutes before 12.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
Solim Simang is the DA federal chairperson. I told you the DA has just dropped out a statement saying that they uphold the rule of law as this Phala Phala matter moves to impeachment process. Soli, thank you for making time for us. Good morning.
Clement, good day to you and good day to the listeners. Thank you for having me.
What is your position as the Democratic Alliance? You find yourself in quite an awkward position because you are in the GNU. So part of your decisions will be very thoroughly considered because there will be political ramifications. What's your position on this judgment now? Do you support that the impeachment process must begin against the president?
Well, Clement, I think that is mute now. The judgment or the Chief Justice and the panel has made the way very, very clear in terms of what needs to then be done. And the DA is on record that we are a party of the Constitution, we are a party of the rule of law, and we're not going to be in government for the sake of being in government, even if it means that we are going to be protecting wrongdoing when, there is in the impeachment committee. We will be fair. We will be, guided by the Constitution, and we will also, if there's evidence, action then should be taken because we're all about accountability, we're all about fairness at the end of the day.
So if the impeachment committee continues its work and let's say the president goes through it and there's a question in parliament, and the committee comes out with a conclusion that, in fact, the president committed serious misconduct here, as the Democratic Alliance, would you be voting for him to be impeached?
Clement, I'm saying we're very clear. The DA is not going to be protecting any wrongdoing because we're not in government just, for our own jackets and then the enjoyment thereof, therefore turning a blind eye when there is wrong. If there's clear evidence of wrongdoing, certainly you can be assured that the DA will act accordingly.
Okay. And if the president resigns, Soli, and this is a possibility because we've been told before when this independent panel was released that is something he was considering. I was told by two of his best friends on the show that he did consider resigning and they advised him against it. As the DA, what position then do you take in the GNU? Would you support like a Paul Mashatile to be the caretaker president until we go through the next elections? Would you put up your own candidate, perhaps in Jordan Hill-Lewis, to be the caretaker president?
Well, I think we need to make something very, very clear. We're not in the GNU on the basis of an individual. We are here because South Africa needs rescuing, and this is why we are where we are. And we will then, weigh those options when the time comes. Whether we then remain because whoever then is, coming, or the kind of composition still is in line with what we want to then achieve in being in government, then that's a decision that will be then taken there. Should it be that, the kind of alignment is no longer suitable for the DA to be in government, then certainly we will then assess our options when we get to it. But I can tell you now, and I can guarantee you that our decision to be in the GNU was not solely on the basis of Cyril Ramaphosa being there. It was on the basis of a commitment that was made to the people of South Africa.
Got you. Solim Simanga, DA Federal Chairperson, thank you so much for making time. The EFF has just written to the Speaker of Parliament here. I've got their letter to the Speaker, and it says that we write to you with reference to the judgment of the Constitutional Court, in terms of which the court ruled that the decision of the National Assembly not to refer the report to the independent panel on whether President Cyril Ramaphosa should be impeached or not to a parliamentary impeachment committee to be invalid. The Constitutional Court specifically ruled that the National Assembly must refer the Section 89 independent panel report to an impeachment committee. We write to you, therefore, to immediately initiate the process to constitute the impeachment committee to give effect to the judgment of the Constitutional Court. Kindly revert to us with timelines in which you will give effect to this judgment of the Apex Court of South Africa. So the Speaker of Parliament now is under extreme pressure. 4 minutes before 12 o'clock.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Friday, the Phala Phala report comes out at the Constitutional Court. Whatever the court says doesn't excuse the president from the responsibility he has to explain to us what was that money doing in the couch. The president had a whole bunch of dollars in his couch. What are you doing with money in your couch, bro? If the president is found to be wanting, what does the leadership of this country look like post Cyril Ramaphosa? Hey, Paul Mashatile, man. He's a nice guy and everything. But he too, man. That's stories, man.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Need a little magic in your weekend? At the Magical Marble Family Fest, you'll find a luxury playground for everyone. It's a day out in the sun, full of activities for all ages, carnival rides, exciting performances, and Joburg's finest flavors, where every moment feels elevated. Every space feels magical, and every ticket opens the door to moments your family will never forget. Get your tickets at magicalmarblefamilyfest.com. Another grand collaboration with Investec in partnership with sister station 947. This 9th and 10th of May at James and Ethel Gray Park.
It's 6 a.m. in Kenya. Victor's little sister starts high school today, but her fees need to be paid first. Back in Jozi, Victor logs onto the Absa banking app and sends her money and a little extra for lunch. It arrives instantly.
Your money makes their world go round. Send cash to 18 countries across the world with Absa Global Pay. It's safe, instant, and affordable. Your story matters. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
It's the final days of less 20% off everything at Dial-A-Bet. All our famous brands in all sizes, all less 20%. Purchase any 40 Winks product for 5,999 or more and we'll give you a free Mother's Day gift. 2 adjustable pillows worth 1,200 Rand. Shop in-store or online today. Dial-A-Bet. Sleep for life.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
2 minutes before 12 o'clock, Mandy Wiener, this is quite hectic. This judgment is going to have some serious political consequences. What are your thoughts?
We'll be unpacking the ramifications, obviously, because now, effectively, an impeachment process the president will have to submit himself to. Also, the political ramifications. So where does this leave the Democratic Alliance and the Government of National Unity? A very strong statement from Jordan Hill-Lewis, I thought, on that. So we'll get lots of reaction. We'll unpack the political fallout. We'll look at what this actually means. The EFF says President Ramaphosa must resign, and we're starting to see more of those calls. What will he do? Action SA is calling it a victory for accountability. The DA says it will uphold the rule of law as that impeachment process now looks set to get underway. We'll look at a couple of other stories as well. The flooding situation in the Eastern Cape. We'll speak to the HSRC about research that tells us there is a rise in anti-immigrant sentiment in South Africa, which doesn't surprise me at all. And then, of course, it is Friday, Clem.
So it's going to have some spots and good things too.
Good things too, yeah.
So here is what the president's best friend told me on the show, James Motlatsi, when I was asking him. I spoke to James Motlatsi and Frans Baleni, and I was asking, is the president really considering resigning?
If he was to ask you, Mechomi, what do you think I should do now? Should I leave or should I stay? What do you think would be your advice?
Look, for me, it's a difficult one. He said, if there should be any negative findings against me, I'll do the right thing. I'll do the right thing. So I guess he must do the right thing, painful as it might be. Sometimes people would only appreciate you when you are no more there.
And I remember saying to him, whoa, are you suggesting that we may regret this as a country later if the president decides to resign? But his best friend, that's Frans Baleni, his best friend says, I told him to do the right thing. And he said, Frans Baleni says, the president told me that should there be a negative finding, I will do the right thing. So, will he do the right thing this time around? We wait and see. Thank you for listening to the Friday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Mandy Wiener comes next. Relebohile much later with John Perlman. Have a beautiful weekend, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. Parliament has been ordered to begin an impeachment inquiry against President Cyril Ramaphosa. This after the Constitutional Court ruled it acted irrationally by not adopting a report which found he may have violated his oath of office regarding his actions in response to the burglary at his Phala Phala farm in 2020. The Section 89 report, which was tabled before Parliament in December 2022, found Ramaphosa may have violated Section 96 of the Constitution by undertaking paid work. The report was not adopted by Parliament, with the ANC using its majority in the House to vote against it. Chief Justice Mandisa Maya says they dealt with 3 judgments in this matter.
On exclusive jurisdiction, it finds that the Constitution imposes a clear and specific obligations on the National Assembly to ensure executive accountability, to put in place effective mechanisms to maintain oversight of the exercise of national executive authority, and to take appropriate action in holding the President accountable.
Maya unpacked what those 3 judgments entailed.
It is declared